Dream will come true for one of our Monster Jam drivers competing in the last chance qualifier. I'm Scott Jordan, joined by Adam Enticknap. Today, the JCB Racing bracket will be set as the 23 Mainfield Superstars race the World Finals track. And Adam, as I said, a Hollywood dream will come true as Monster Jam has brought back the last chance qualifier. 12 superstars will race in a bracket-style tournament, and that will determine the final, the 24th spot in the main field of Monster Jam World Finals 23. Adam, in your Supercross career, you competed in many LCQs. What is the pressure these drivers are feeling today?
Man, it is so nerve-wracking, the pressure of the LCQ. I've had the pleasure of doing this a few times, being in that LCQ, and it is do or die for these drivers. Do you want to be in the main field, or do you want to sit in the stands and drive home? It's going to be very difficult, but only one driver goes. Can't wait to see who it is.
That's right, 11 get to be spectators and watch while one competes for world championships. So the format for the LCQ is similar to racing qualifying coming up. Each driver gets a race pass in each of our 2 lanes. Based on those racing times, we'll set the bracket for the LCQ with the 4 fastest times earning a bye into the second round. Now, in the LCQ, the fastest 4 earn that first round bye. Adam, how important is that in this last chance qualifier?
It all just matters about confidence over these other drivers. If you get that first round bye, the other drivers are going to know you are the faster man on the track. It's going to be very difficult for a driver that doesn't get a first round bye to overcome that, but you never know, and we love the underdog.
The World Finals track is always something spectacular. This year is no different with a side-by-side racetrack, the S-Track design. So let's take a look at the World Finals track here at SoFi Stadium.
So what we're looking at here is an S-style track, which is different than anything we've seen in the Stadium Series and in the Arena Series. It's been very difficult for these drivers in practice on Thursday. You could tell they had a tough time with that very first turn on the blue side, and on the red side, the later corner. What you need to do is kind of start the rear steer just a little bit early and get off the rear steer early as well. It's going to be very difficult for all the drivers, but I think the arena drivers have a little bit of an advantage.
And practice was absolutely chaotic yesterday. We saw some spectacular saves because of that berm. Now, Adam and I are going to have it covered in the booth with all the action on that track, but in Monster Jam, we see a lot of action off the track as well, and that's where Leslie Mears comes in. Leslie, welcome to Hollywood. Championship start here at qualifying.
They do, and Adam, the biggest thing for me yesterday was I had the opportunity to sit down with Tom Metz, the professor, and he had a front row to everything that was happening during practice. And like you mentioned about the importance of the rear steer in that red lane and in that berm out there, the biggest thing Tom Metz said is drivers have to get a little bit wider out here. They have to put that left tire in the red lane and the right tire in the blue lane onto the berm. It uses their advantage to help them push out and through that. If they don't do that, they're going to run the risk of sliding out into the opposite lane. If they do that, they're going to beat the other driver on the course, and then they're going to fail and not be able to get those times that they're looking for. That was the biggest thing for Tom Metz.
Lane was a little stronger, a little faster yesterday. I think in head-to-head 22 matchups of qualifying, 13-9 was the blue lane, but 7 out of the top 8 main field qualifiers came from that blue lane. So we'll see there. I know there were some track adjustments made, and we'll find out in LCQ qualifying where those track adjustments are and how they do it. But a lot of talented superstars in the LCQ. I think when you look at 12 superstars, it is one of the most talented groups of drivers. A lot of strong independent drivers in this. We have a former Rookie of the Year, 2 drivers that have already been to a World Finals, and Jamie Gardner and Nick Pagliarulo, and a lot of these drivers that have been around for a long time. Chad Tingler, another one that's been to World Finals, but a guy like Mark Hall, who has never competed in one of these World Finals, a big-time fan favorite, did very well in practice yesterday.
Yes, Mark Hall was very impressive, and the other driver that was very impressive as well was Joe Foley and Chris Kohler. They were both fantastic.
And David Olford, another driver, he had 2 of the top 4 fastest qualifying times in practice. So Too Tall getting it done on this S-style track, man. I'm excited as we got a pair coming to the line right now. Ashley Sanford, Megalodon, and Joe Foley rocking that Nitro El Toro Loco. So we are getting started here for the LCQ qualifying. Remember, the top 4 get the first round buys. They will get one pass in each lane. We see Ashley Sanford in the red lane, Joe Foley in the blue lane. And after each pair has gone through this first round, we will go to a round 2 qualifier. We will take their fastest time from either lane, and that's how we will see the last chance qualifying bracket. So we have Foley pulling to the line in the Nitro Neon El Toro Loco, Ashley Sanford in Megalodon. And here we go. LCQ qualifying is off and running. Floater jumps for both superstars.
Great landing for Joe Foley. A little slow around that berm. Ashley Sanford on the outside taking it wide. Let's see if she can make a recovery in this last corner.
And here's where the race can be won right here. Joe Foley has all the throttle momentum, but look at Ashley Sanford. So Ashley Sanford getting it done. She's just coming off her first career racing win in Monster Jam, and she crosses the finish line first in that red lane. A bit of a surprise, as I mentioned, the blue lane pretty fast yesterday. Now the red lane. Let's take a look at the original Super Glue to the action replay.
Okay, so you can see here Ashley Sanford coming on that outside lane. This is where they took the roller out on the outside. She rides up on the berm, makes it a little bit wide, but made up enough time on Joe Foley to still come away with the win.
26.543 for El Toro Loco, 21.519 for Ashley Sanford in Megalodon. So Ashley immediately shoots up into that top spot as our second pair is out. If you watched trackside earlier before we started qualifying, you saw the new body style for Kraken. And right now, Mike Christensen, Vendetta lined up as well. Team Throttle Monster, Team Tom Foolery set to qualify in this LCQ. Two great racers, and we saw Mike Christensen on another level this season on Stadium Championship Series as he kept going and winning these racing competitions in the bracket, giving Ryan Anderson a run for his money.
Yeah, I think that was due to Mike Christensen having that bigger motor this year, but he had a lot of problems with that. I'm not sure with this World Finals track. Is it going to help Mike Christensen here? Maybe a little bit off of the gate into that first turn, but these tight turns are very difficult for these drivers. It's all about precision.
And here we go, his Stadium Championship Series East meets Stadium Championship Series West. Kraken up to the berm, goes a little off to the side, and that is a great corner deep from Mike Christensen in the red lane.
Mike Christensen a little deep, but he looks like he has the advantage.
Nick Pagliarulo, though, throttled down, hits the finish line first from the blue lane. So right now it is red lane 1, blue lane 1. Great run there for both drivers. I like the deep turn, that final corner for Kraken. Went out wide, got the angle, able to accelerate across the line. Take a look at the replay.
Here you can see Mike Christensen getting a little bit wide on that step up, but able to make up a little bit of time. Kraken on the outside there, pushes wide, but gets into some tacky dirt, gets the truck straight, and hammers the throttle for the win.
21.812 there for Vendetta. Kraken 21.298. Nick Pagliarulo right now the fastest in LCQ out of Columbus, Michigan. Chris Kohler in Monster Month, the 2023 Co-Rookie of the Year. And he is squaring off in this qualifier with Matt Pagliarulo rocking that silver Jester body. I say squaring off loosely because they're not competing. They're just competing for times, but you are challenging each other. And we heard that a lot yesterday from these drivers, that they are challenging each other on the racetrack.
Yes, and you're also going for that bye in the LCQ race. Chris Kohler, one of the drivers I definitely have my eye on to win the LCQ.
And now here we go, Jester, blue lane, just chopping over here, slow around the berm. So Matt Pagliarulo going to take it easy here to try to get that blue lane berm down. Chris Kohler coming on the red berm lane, clips the pod, and he goes up onto that divider, on the median, and it's not going to stop him. Chris Kohler across the finish line, but Adam, we saw a lot of that yesterday at practice, that medium giving drivers fits already.
Yes, and what we talked about, what Leslie brought up from Tom Meents, is you have to get that left rear tire if you're in the red lane on that berm. Chris decided to turn tight. He hit that pod. It pushed him wide over that kind of center median, slowed him down. That is not going to get an LCQ win for you, but he did move on from Matt.
Next pair pulling out here, we got David Olford, Velociraptor, Jamie Garner in the El Toro Loco, the yellow El Toro Loco. And I mentioned at the top of qualifying that David Olford really surprised a lot of people yesterday at practice. He had two of the top 4 fastest times. 19.442 was the fastest time of LCQ qualifiers. Times coming in for that last pass, 24.655 for Jester. Chris Kohler, 27.458. That would have to be a 5-second penalty on Chris.
Yes, it definitely is, and that has to be from going over that median on that last turn. So these drivers are going to have to be very smooth and very precise. Keep it tight.
Yeah, it's simple. You cannot cross into another race.
My mic just died. Help. All right,
Loco,
so
Jamie jump gets him across here in the blue lane, and Jamie Garner, but look at slinging David Olford in Velociraptor, just slinging across that race ramp.
it looks like Jamie Garner went a little wide, but Velociraptor coming in for a great last corner.
This is going to be close to the finish. Velociraptor has this track locked in, man. He is a one to watch when it comes to the LCQ, and I can imagine Team Throttle Monster with two drivers in the main field of World Finals 23 in LA, but absolutely picking up right where he left off. Here's the super glue to the action replay.
You can see in this last corner, look at how he hits the rear steer early, gets up on that berm like Tom Meents talked about. David Olford is going to be a problem.
And right now, those are your two fastest qualifiers, both of them 1 and 2 for Velociraptor 20.276, El Toro Loco 20.341. Here comes Brandon Talachka. Here is a guy, flew under the radar for the first couple years of his career, came in with a vengeance this year, showing off, putting everybody on notice. I love this kid in this bracket, and he is going up against Tony Oaks and Thunderoris. And speaking of loving it, I love the sleek look of that inverted Thunderoris truck.
Yeah, it's definitely something we love here at World Finals. They come up with new paint jobs. It looks fantastic, something bright and new for Tony Oaks and Thunderoris.
So Thunderoris, just get her done. Thunderoris in the blue lane, just get her done in the red lane. We'll see Brandon Talachka and Tony Oaks. When it comes to practice, Tony had the third fastest practice time. He checked in at 20.163 yesterday, just behind Mark Hall. With Brandon Talachka, he finished 7th, 20.461, and we'll see if he can improve on that. Here we go. Thunderoris, just get her done. Big time air for Tony Oaks. He goes across into that median, and Tony Oaks has our first rollover of the day.
Now Brandon Talachka still wants to get a good pass, a little low on the berm. Oh, it looks like he might have held onto that rear steer a little long. Remember, this is qualifying, so it does not matter if he beats Tony Oaks here. He's going for that bye spot in the LCQ races. So you can see Tony Oaks right here just goes a little hard on the throttle on that first step up. I bet he was excited, a little bit of nerves going. Just went too far, got a big bounce on those BKTs, but Brandon Talachka coming away with the win.
And comes away with the third fastest time so far. To just get her done to now up in that third spot. Velociraptor still hanging on to the top spot. El Toro Loco second. This is just round one. Flying here for LCQ. We will go back and do round 2, and we will take the fastest time. Here is your leaderboard. 20.276 sitting at the top. Jamie Garner 20.341. Brandon Talachka with that run 20.962 gets in there a little over a half a second behind where Velociraptor is. Kraken in 4th, Megalodon in 5th, Vendetta currently. So all 12 of these superstars will compete for that 24 spot. And when it comes to their qualifying time, we're going to wait till we get to the finals, but that time that is clocked for the driver that wins the LCQ will determine their placement into the racing bracket. So you could have 8 drivers tonight qualify for that top 8 spots, but the LCQ winner could bump one of them right out.
Yeah, that's very exciting. Very fortunate for these LCQ drivers. You know, in Supercross, when we had an LCQ or transferred out of the LCQ, you were automatically put to the back. It didn't matter what time you got in the race or what place, you were automatically put to the very back behind the guys that qualified in the heat. So great opportunity for the drivers in the LCQ to maybe even possibly get a bye, but also something else that's very fortunate for these drivers in the LCQ is they have more time on the track than anybody else. So they're going to have an advantage. They have a great opportunity to be up there in the bracket and get some good practice times.
We have 2 longtime Mark Hall in Raminator. I mentioned Mark had the third fastest practice time. He is the driver that second fastest practice time. I'm sorry, his practice time yesterday, check it in at 20.134. Mark, when this LCQ field was announced, Mark is a name that came up in the social media groups, the Facebook chat groups, Instagram, as a driver to watch. I saw so many comments saying that this track is built for a driver like Mark Hall. It is built for a truck like Raminator, and he didn't disappoint yesterday. However, on the other end of that spectrum, Adam, at one point he had the fastest time in practice, and at another point he had the slowest time in practice.
You know, and that could just be because he put a fast time right out of the get-go, right? So you put a fast time down, and you kind of feel like you have a cushion to be able to put something even faster down. So that might have just been Mark Hall trying to push the edge, get an even faster time just to build up his confidence. But what he did do by pushing it and getting that last best time is that he found out how far he can push the truck and where the hard spots are on the track.
And this is the last pair here in the first round of qualifying for the last chance qualifier. And we're about to get our final green light here in round one of qualifying. Here we go, Mark Hall, huge air. Chad Singler hits the brakes there a little bit, greases the back two BKT wheels down the ski slope. And here we go, up over the race ramp, goes overboard.
Mark Hall overturns, grabs that pod on the inside.
Chad Tingler struggling in the red lane. Look at Mark Hall. He's going all the way over and bumps Chad Tingler coming out of the red lane. We will see where they score that, if that's a penalty or not. He was across the finish line before he impeded the race lane, so we will see. But an exciting finish there. And take a look at our original Super Glue to the action replay.
Mark Hall, seen that he was behind, Chad Tingler ahead, kind of trying to steer out of it at the finish line, didn't quite get the lineup. Mark Hall seen an opportunity, went for it, and he comes up just a millisecond short.
22.530 for Raminator, 22.413 for Overboard, so no penalty there for Chad Tingler. So we are through round one here at qualifying. We're still checking out this replay. Look at that finish, man. Mark Hall just greased it up here over that ramp, comes over to the side, too far to the right, little cross-threading over the finish line. David Olford right back where he ended practice yesterday in the top spot here. It is the top 4 times that get the first round buys here in the LCQ. Right now, as it stands, that would be Velociraptor in that top spot. As we're looking here at the board at SoFi Stadium, this massive track here, the massive field. And there's your bottom 5, or your bottom 6. Overboard, Raminator, Jester, El Toro Loco, Monster Mud, Thunder Roars with some work to do. Here's your top 6. Velociraptor, El Toro Loco, Just Get Her Done, and Kraken as it stands right now 4. So 1 round in, 1 round to go. We will switch lanes when we come back. It is round 2 of LC qualifying. We are back here at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California. It's World Finals 23 as we are kicking off qualifying. So 1 round in the LCQ. I do want to mention we are live right now on the Monster Jam YouTube channel. We are live streaming this whole weekend. Tomorrow, Saturday, May 18th, pit party at 1 p.m. That's the first time you can live stream tomorrow from the pit party. The 2-wheel skills and high jump competition at 4:30. These are all Eastern times. Racing and freestyle, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. And Sunday, we have the Monster Jam Awards ceremony, 9 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to be hosting that, Adam. I hope you're going to be there to listen to some of my incredibly funny jokes as I try to entertain the drivers after a long season.
Scott, you are absolutely fantastic over there. We love it. But this track, I want to talk a little bit about the track here at the finish line. It is so interesting how you kind of start together, right? And then you leave each other for a second. You get separated. You can see that separation. And then right at the finish line, we've already seen how intense it gets right at that checkered flag. And the guy that's coming out of that blue lane is behind coming into the final, so they really feel like they have to get on it.
It's like you and I all season. You know, we come together. It's really intense. It's great. We separate for a little while, and then we come back together, and it's intense again, man. So I feel like this track is you and I in the broadcast booth all season long. Let's go back here to our qualifying times. 20.276 has the top spot. That is David Olford. Jamie Gardner 20.341 in second. Brandon Toluchka 20.962 in third. Nick Pagliarulo in fourth, 21.298. Two of those names up in the top four have competed in a main field World Finals in their career. Jamie Gardner has an appearance. Nick Pagliarulo has an appearance. What would it mean for Brandon Toluchka, David Olford to get their first main field appearance in World Finals?
Oh my gosh, this is what these drivers live for. It's like winning the championship almost in a way, because you're in that main field and you are solidified as one of the World Finals drivers. And something else I'm looking at about David Olford is that he ran a 20.276, and that last pass, he was under that 20-second mark in time qualifying. So that means he's the fastest guy out there, and David Olford has a little bit more.
We got two trucks on the track right now as we see El Toro Loco, the incredible Nitro Neon from the Superstar Challenge. That body, Joe Foley rocking that. Ashley Sanford Megalodon, the 2023 Monster Jam Co-Rookie of the Year. She had the fifth fastest time in round one at a 21.519. They're going to switch lanes here. Joe Foley is a guy that took the Monster Jam fan base and everybody by storm this season. 5 stadium freestyle wins, led the series, led the sport. But now to earn his spot in World Finals, he's got to go through racing, which was not his strongest point in 2024.
Yes, it was definitely not his strongest point at all, and I think he truly believes to be in that World Finals freestyle with some of the freestyles that we called and seen throughout this year. But something I want to talk about is Ashley Sanford. How much has she stepped up since practice?
Absolutely, and she comes off a little slow. Look at the brake check there from Joe Foley. Almost loses it. He does lose it. Gets outside the race lane. He's got some work to do here. Ashley Sanford, another strong pass in the blue lane for Megalodon.
Ashley Sanford struggled in practice, and now she is getting it done. Oh, flawless run, but she gets off the side, hits the barrier.
I think you jinxed her a little bit there. Hyping her up. She comes off too far, can't get the truck centered, ends up over by the container that is out of bounds. Take a look at the original super glue, glued to the action replay.
So now watch, you can see she kind of just gets a little high-sided off that single in the far back coming out of that corner, and then she can't correct it because she's on the power and she did not lift. Unfortunate for Ashley.
So Ashley Sanford had a great first pass in the red lane, now trying to get something done in the blue lane. We will take that red lane time, which still could be enough to get her a good spot in the bracket, just not into the top four. 21.519. She checks in this round, 25.57 for Joe Foley. 23.668. So Freestyle Foley will not be getting a first round bye in the LCQ. And we're going to keep this thing rocking. We got our next pair out on the track, Kraken and Vendetta, Mike Christensen and Nick Pagliarulo. Nick right now in a great spot with a 21.298. That is the fourth fastest time thus far in the LCQ qualifier.
Nick Pagliarulo with that new purple Kraken body looking fantastic. That they unveiled that in the live stream. Definitely something very special, especially because he got those colors from his girlfriend and his daughter, which is very cool.
Vendetta, as I mentioned in the last round, has had a great year in racing, but it's come at a cost. You and I have talked about this on our MAP TV broadcast. Mike has blown motor after motor after motor. He's missed, I want to say, ballparking at 7 freestyle competitions because of the blown motor. So how much does he have to lay off here to save what he's got in that truck if he does make it to the main field?
I don't even know what to say with Mike Christensen. They said they figured out the problem. I talked to the crew chief and I talked to Mike Christensen. They said they had some kind of drivetrain that was a little bit crooked, and that's why they were blowing so many motors. But tonight here, I don't know if that motor is going to make a difference.
We're going to find out here. We are off and running with our next pair, Vendetta, Kraken. Mike Christensen inside that blue lane, goes up on the berm. He's doing great so far. Kraken with a nice race lane in the red lane as well.
Kraken gets up high on the berm, makes a good last corner, but the rear steer doesn't come back.
And Mike Christensen, absolute perfect pass there as we wait the times. It looks like it is in that red lane, coming across that turning pot that has given drivers fits. It's the rear steer. We've talked about that, and that is what kept Nick Pagliarulo behind a little bit. We'll see how much that costs him. Take a look at the super glue. Glue to the action replay.
Well, this was the real problem right here. There must be ruts developing on the front of that step up that is pitching the drivers off to the right. It's unfortunate for Nick, but he's going to have to deal with it.
It's not unfortunate for Mike Christensen. He is now the fastest qualifier in the LCQ. How about Team Throttle Monster, man? They are here to win. We talked about the motors. It doesn't matter. They are here to win. I love the confidence. They have Dalton Wider already in the main field. Mike Christensen now in a great spot. David Olford as well. But we got more races to go. Nick Pagliarulo with another great pass to 20.628. That keeps him in the 4th position. So Nick in a great spot right now to get a first round bye. The top 4 qualifiers here will get the first round bye in the LCQ later on this evening. Now what's going to happen after LCQ, we're going to do the main field qualifying, but we can't set the racing bracket until we have the LCQ. So that'll be the last thing that we see. So we will see the 23 trucks into the bracket, and then we will add the last chance qualifier winner into the bracket and reveal the JCB Racing bracket at the end of the broadcast. And here we go, Chris Kohler and Matt Pagliarulo, Monster Mutt and Jester. Chris trying to learn his lesson from earlier here and in practice yesterday. He went a little too hard. And look at Jester now off the red race ramp.
Chris Kohler's got this one in the bag if he can stay straight.
Chris Kohler, great pass in the blue lane. We're seeing it again. The blue lane starting to get faster. Drivers starting to figure it out. I do think it's that final turn in the red lane as we take a look at the original Super Glue. Glued to the action red lane replay.
Okay, you can see Chris Kohler come off the step up. Look at how early he started that rear steer. Very crucial. He let go of it a little bit late, but like I said before, these drivers are not used to having such a tight berm. Hammers the throttle and gets the job done.
And Chris Kohler did get the job done, 19.788. He shoots it up to the top of the leaderboard. So it is Monster Mutt, Vendetta, Velociraptor, El Toro Loco, Jamie Garner. So that is bad news for Nick Pagliarulo. That drops him out of the 4th spot, which means that Kraken will not get a first round bye. And speaking of Jamie Garner and Velociraptor, they are back out on the track for another go. This time switching lanes. David Olford takes the blue lane. Jamie Garner gets the red lane. We will see how their times compare to their round 1 qualifying times. But David looked great all day yesterday. Pass after pass after pass. Had this track figured out. And here we go. Velociraptor, El Toro Loco. Floaters for both. Hit the brake check and into the berm goes Velociraptor.
David Olford and Velociraptor did such a good job getting wide before that first turn. This is going to be a fantastic time. Look at the lead.
Jamie got the turn down pat, but David Olford looking sharp again, looking fast again. Velociraptor, I'm telling you, I know we keep hyping this kid up, man, but one race after another, David Olford has got it dialed in right now as we check out the original Super Glue, glued to the action replay.
Jamie Garner getting a little off to the right. He hits the rear steer early, but I think he had too much setup time, which got him behind. David Olford getting the truck straight, sliding that thing in SoFi Stadium.
Velociraptor 19.110. We're doing it again here for David Olford. He is now once again the fastest qualifier. He jumps from 3rd to 1st. So right now it is Velociraptor, Monster Mutt, Vendetta, and El Toro Loco. So the top 4 do stay the same. Just a little bit of a change there in the numbers, and the seating 19.110 is the fastest time so far. Let's keep going here on the track. Tony Oaks, Thunderoris in the red lane, and then Brandon Toluchka just get her done in the blue lane. Nice jumps for both drivers. Tony going to stay narrow now to the pod, so Tony taking a different approach, doesn't sling it wide.
Tony Oaks came up a little bit short on that step up, but nice and steady. Goes a little too wide, sets it up. Tony Oaks from the red lane making it look easy. We got one more pair left to go. Let's see what the times are as we come in here with our incredible matchup here. Tony Oaks, Brandon Toluchka. Take a look at the original Super Glue, glued to the action replay. Man, you can see how tight this track is down here, but what I love is the track is breaking in and it looks like it's getting a little faster. Tony Oaks coming up short on that step up, stays nice and tight here. Now watch Tony in this section. He really tries to set up this corner, hits the rear steer early, goes a little bit wide. He can clean that up even more in those final LCQ races.
20.480 for Thunderoris, 21.264 for Just Get Her Done. We're down to our final pair. It's a final qualifier. That means Velociraptor and Monster Mutt will get first round buys. Vendetta and El Toro Loco wait for these times to come in. Mark Hall, Raminator in the red lane. Chad Tingler overboard in the blue lane. And we'll see if one of these two superstars can jump up into that top 4 and get that important LCQ first round bye. Look how low overboard stayed on the step up. Comes down in a nose wheelie, and Chad Tingler out in front.
just a little bit short. And let's see if Mark Hall can make up some time in this last corner and keeps it tight.
Got to hit the brakes around the turning pod, and Chad Tingler, great race pass. We'll see if it's enough to elevate Overboard into the top 4 as we await the times. 20.341 is the 4th spot right now from Jamie Garner as we take a look at the original Super Glue glued to the action replay.
Raminator coming into that last jump right here, lands, and then watch that left front tire kind of wobble there. That could be a tie rod, that could be an inner outer axle, that could be something with the planetary gear, something with the hub on that left driver's side. Unfortunate for Mark Hall. Hopefully he can get that truck back together and working perfect for the LCQ race.
20.956 for Overboard, 22.069 for Raminator. And that means we can see our bracket here just momentarily. There's our times. Velociraptor 19.110. When you compare that to the time that David had yesterday in practice, the 19.443, a lot faster. So he is dialed in. Monster Muck Chris Kohler as well, improved from his practice time yesterday. Monster Muck Chris Kohler did not even check in the top 10, the top 15 with a fast time. So a lot of improvements there for Chris. Vendetta in 3rd, El Toro Loco's Jamie Garner in 4th. So there's your 4 first-round buys. So those 4 trucks, Velociraptor, Monster Muck, Vendetta, and El Toro Loco get the first-round buys, as we will now be revealing this bracket here just momentarily. But you got to like what you see out of some of these drivers. We talked about David. We talked about Team Throttle Monster. Let's talk about Chris Kohler's improvement from yesterday, because as I mentioned, didn't even check into the top 15 fastest times yesterday.
Yeah, so what I'm seeing down at the track that we really have to look at, yesterday the track was a little on the dry side. It wasn't watered as much as the drivers would have liked, but you can see today the dirt is a little bit darker. It's a little wetter, and that to me means the dirt is going to have more traction. I've talked to Chris Kohler many, many times. He loves when the dirt is tacky because that's how his truck is set up. He has a very stiff, newer frame. He has a stiffer suspension setup, and that's what works best for him. Chris Kohler under pressure, getting it done, getting that bye. That is going to be crucial for this LCQ race.
Yeah, not a great sign for Raminator getting towed to the back. We still have a lot of time between now and the last chance qualifier. We still have to get to the main field round 1 and round 2. But as you and I saw yesterday in practice, if things go well, that time starts to decrease a little bit, and we can really get to the LCQ pretty quick.
Yes, definitely. This track is going to get nothing but faster and faster and faster all night long. I do see a few dry spots on this track, though. I'm worried before the finish in that red lane. It's very, very dry. It's already starting to come up. I'm wondering if they're going to get the water truck out there or what they're going to do to maintain this track.
We're going to take a look here at Raminator, see what went wrong for Mark Hall.
So Mark overcleared just a little bit on that step up, but you can see it pitched him off to the left. Did something a little funky there. I'm not sure what's going on with the front of that step up. We can't really see. Mark Hall coming in tight, grabs the pod a little bit, not perfect, but you can see right here on the landing, big breakage for Mark Hall. It shouldn't be that significant to replace. I would definitely think Mark Hall will be back for the LCQ races. Nothing major going on. You can see it just blew the wheel. It looks like it blew the wheel off of the hub there.
Yeah, they will get to work back there. They'll have some time. So the bracket is coming in here at SoFi Stadium up on the board. We're going to get that to you here momentarily, but David Olford gets the number 1 seed. Here is your bracket for the last chance qualifier. Let's start over in round 2. David Olford gets the number 1 seed. Jamie Garner in there, Monster Muck, Chris Kohler, Vendetta, Mike Christensen. What I love about this bracket for Team Throttle Monster is that David and Mike would not meet each other until the final round, so they don't have to worry about knocking each other out. Let's go to round 1. You get Overboard, Just Get Her Done, Thunderoris, El Toro Loco, Jester, Megalodon, and Kraken and Raminator. Adam, what do you like out of this LCQ bracket?
Honestly, I like everything. The big thing that I'm looking at right now is Chris Kohler, Monster Mutt getting that bye. David Olford also. Those were some of the guys that I looked at yesterday in practice that really had a chance to win in this LCQ. But somebody that I was really counting on was Joe Foley and El Toro Loco. I know it's not his strong suit, but man, he has just been getting better and better throughout the year. I expected him to be a little bit higher.
And we could see a potential El Toro Loco round 2 matchup. Of the one that I do like here in round 2 is look at Jester and Megalodon. If Ashley Sanford continues to look good and can get past Matt Pagliarulo, we will have a race racing match between the 2023 Monster Jam co-rookies of the year.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about. Big medal on the line there. Big bragging rights for both drivers.
Well, the LCQ qualifier is done. That means coming up next, we start to see the main field. Main field qualifying round 1 is next when we come back. We are back at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California. This is World Finals 23 qualifying. We just had the LCQ qualifier, and now we will switch over to the main field. So it's the same setup here. Drivers have been split into pairs. They will get one pass in each race lane. The fastest overall time will see them into the racing bracket, with the fastest 8 drivers earning first-round buys. Let's talk about practice again. Yesterday, as it pertains to the main field, Adam, 13-9 in the blue lane head-to-head. As far as the red lane goes. So the blue lane a little faster. We talked about that. 7 of the top 8 qualifying times came from the blue lane. One driver qualified in the top 8 in both lanes. His name is Dalton Widener. So you have a guy that has amassed a huge following out there in the internet community, who's also a Team Throttle monster. And you look at David Ofer qualifying first in the LCQ. Mike Christensen getting a first-round bye. If Dalton Widener can maintain that success that he had in practice, we could see a Team Throttle monster showdown here, man.
I could not believe how good Dalton Widener was in practice. He was so impressive. It was like when he was on the big stage, he was feeding off that energy. He wanted to be that guy. He wants to show Monster Jam and all the fans that he can be the top dog in Monster Jam. It was truly unbelievable, but that was only practice. Right. Now we're here in qualifying, and you got to get it done. This is when it counts.
And we here's your driver lineup here for the main field. So we have our series champions here. Blake Granger coming in from the International Series. Zach Gardner surprised us yesterday as well as how good he was. And when it comes to that, he checked in as the 3rd fastest time with an 18.686. The fastest practice time yesterday, Tyler Menega, 18.148. Ryan Anderson was 2nd, Cody Saucier 4th, Adam Anderson 5th, Dalton Widener 6th and 7th, and Camden Murphy finished in 8th. So we'll see how that pertains here. Jamie Sullivan is there as well, another new World Finals competitor. What do you expect from Jamie after watching her in practice yesterday?
She definitely started out a little bit with some struggles. She said there was some steering issues. I'm not sure what was going on. I'm not sure if she wasn't used to this floor, if she wasn't used to this style dirt. We know that Jamie Sullivan has been in a lot of arenas, right, this year. So opening that up, getting a little bit wider look, it's going to be difficult for her. She didn't have the times that I thought that she would have got. But Jamie Sullivan is a fantastic driver. We've seen that at the All-Star Challenge. Truly unbelievable. Yeah. I expect her to step up.
And drivers did have a lot of time on this track yesterday, so they were not only just given one pass from each lane. We did 2 rounds of qualifying here, but there was also an open practice as well. They were here until about 7 o'clock last night just doing racing passes. So as we saw the drivers continue to come out on this track and get pass after pass after pass, that's when we saw the time starting to increase, which is normal in racing. The more time you're on the track, the more you can dial it in. But it was funny how many drivers kept picking that blue lane. Adam Anderson didn't even run out of the red lane in his first 2 passes. He went right to the blue lane each time. So lane choice going to be crucial, but obviously I think you and I agree that the drivers mainly are going to be picking the blue lane, so you're going to want to get the fastest time. You're going to want lane choice, and I think that is going to heavily favor our drivers with the 8 first-round buys.
Yeah, it definitely is going to be a major factor, picking lane choice, but you and I both got to talk to Colt Stevens last night at dinner, and one of the things that he mentioned is the drivers in practice were really asking, can we get more practice? Can we get more practice? And that is just a testament to how difficult this World Finals track is. Another thing that we haven't really touched on is in the red lane after the step up, there was a roller in practice. Now they have taken that roller out to try to even up the blue lane and the red lane. We mentioned that all those fast times were coming out of the blue lane in practice yesterday. We're seeing that even up a little bit. The step up has some kind of funky rut coming off the front of it, but you are going to be able to carry a little bit more speed in that first turn on the red lane side.
And when it comes to practice, drivers asking for more time, we also have to remember that this is the first time in 3 years in 3 cities where weather has not been a factor. It absolutely destroyed the track in Orlando, destroyed the track in Nashville. Here, obviously we have the roof or the ceiling over here at SoFi Stadium, but it's beautiful Southern California weather. It's a dry track. You know, as you mentioned, you told me yesterday that you thought it should be a little wetter down there, and we'll see. I think because of so many race passes, the crew wasn't able to get out on the track, but I'm sure we will see the moisture on the dirt there. But we just have to figure out, you know, how this weather is going to pertain, because it's a dry track now, and it could make it for a very slick and tacky track. We got a lot of live stream action for you this weekend here on Monster Jam's YouTube. We are live streaming every event now and just changing the game. Here is our schedule for the weekend. Tomorrow, tune in at 1 p.m. as we will have full coverage from the largest pit party of the year right out here out of SoFi Stadium. A lot of great trucks out there, some surprises. We'll have a lot of guests, great staff, great host team out there. We'll take you through that. Then we will have coverage of the Great Clips 2 Wheel Skills Challenge and Lucas Oil High Jump beginning at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then we will get to the night competitions, racing and freestyle, and that begins at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. So it is a full day and a full night. And then Sunday, the awards ceremony begins at 9 p.m. Eastern right here in Southern California. Man, you know, I brought my tuxedo, Adam, the velvet tuxedo. I'm ready to take the stage here in Hollywood and see what happens. But I'm excited. But you folks can live stream all of this right here on YouTube. We appreciate you tuning in from around the world. We had a great turnout yesterday here for the press conference, and a great turnout on YouTube as well. A lot of great announcements yesterday, and I think if I say the word great one more time, I may never say it again. But a lot of cool announcements, a lot of people talking on social media. We did announce that World Finals next year will be at Salt Lake City Rice-Eccles Stadium, so that is a big announcement there. We also announced the Marvel trucks competing domestically for the first time ever since Marvel's return to Monster Jam. Just a lot of cool announcements, and it's a great time to be a Monster Jam fan.
Yeah, it's definitely cool that we're going back to SLC for World Finals. I love the city. I love the weather. I love the stadium. I love the atmosphere. It's going to be fantastic.
We are going to take a quick break here. When we come back, round one of the main field qualifiers. That's next. Stay right where you are. We'll be right back. Excited for Monster Jam Showdown. We saw Sparkle Smash in that game. Sparkle Smash arriving in Monster Jam this weekend with the Smash Mountain stunt. Kayla Blood, I announced, we spoke to her yesterday at the press conference. She's going to be a great Sparkle Smash driver. I know Soldier Fortune, she will compete in here at World Finals, but she's going to do that stunt, and the Sparkle Smash officially will become a part of Monster Jam, and you can see that unveiling of Sparkle Smash at the pit party tomorrow. Let's get back to the weather here. So a little more overcast than what I would expect from Southern California and Los Angeles. You live here. Talk a little bit about what it's going to do to this track.
You know, something I did want to talk about is the weather isn't as much of a factor here in California because we do have the roof on the stadium and it is good weather. But something that was very interesting that I heard during the press conference is Kristen Anderson said, you know, it's going to be a little bit of an advantage for us arena drivers because we're in closed domes all the time. I didn't really think about that. And the last couple World Finals have been so rainy and so muddy. They've had to deal with the elements. And those arena drivers that get to be at World Finals don't have to deal with that all year like our stadium drivers do. So maybe some of those arena drivers have an advantage, not only on the racetrack, but on the dirt.
We're going to get started here with our main field qualifying. First pair out of the track, Jamie Sullivan, Monster Mutt Dalmatian in the red lane, Cody Saucier, Dragon in the blue lane. Two arena drivers, Cody Saucier, of course, Arena Racer of the Year. There's one driver in this field that has never qualified outside of the top 10, and that is Cody Saucier. In the last couple of years, he's qualified second. He's got a sixth as well as a first-place qualifier. Now, let me get back to first place. Just because you qualify first doesn't necessarily guarantee you a World Finals championship. Only one driver in this field has done that, and that is Todd LeDuc.
Yeah, that is very impressive, and that is the same exact thing that happens very often in Supercross as well. A lot of the time, the guy who qualifies the fastest isn't necessarily the winner. There's so many different elements that go into racing other than being the fastest qualifier. There is so much competition here at such a high level. It's going to be very interesting where Cody Saucier ends up and who our fastest qualifier is and who really comes away with that racing championship.
He ended up practice time fourth, best time. It was an 18.807. So Cody definitely had the track figured out, finishing up there in the top 5. Jamie Sullivan, a little bit of a different story. Her fastest time was 43rd best out of the field yesterday, but this is her first World Finals. Cody's been here many times before. She did say she has a little bit of pressure putting it on herself, and we'll see how that pays off here in qualifying for her.
Well, she had some steering issues as well, so let's see how she does now.
Here we go. Main field qualifying has begun. Dragon and Monster Mutt Dalmatian. Cody Saucier in that red lane. We'll see how it affects him right here in the blue lane. He's going to see how it affects him right here going outside wide on that turn. Jamie Sullivan in the red lane. She's going to try to take it tight, clips the pod, goes up high over the berm into the blue race lane.
Yeah, that's going to be a penalty for Jamie Sullivan, but Cody Saucier executing the best pass that I have seen so far today and maybe yesterday in practice.
Here's a Super Glue Luda action replay.
She goes way too tight. You can see Jamie, she tries to turn tight there. She doesn't open up her turn like Tom Meents talked about. You got to hit that rear sear early and use the berm. Watch Jamie here. She stays on the inside of that white line, tries to make the turn. These trucks do not turn very sharp. If you do that, you're going to go over the berm and you're going to get a penalty.
So Cody Saucier with a 19.123, Jamie Sullivan 23.455. That 19.123 based on practice times yesterday would have put Cody around 12th or 13th. So obviously you want to improve on that because that's not going to get you a first round bye. Let's continue on with the action. Ryan Anderson, son of a digger, in the red lane. And he's going up against Armando Castro, El Toro Loco in the blue lane. Armando coming off his first series championship. When you talk about qualifying history, Ryan Anderson has never qualified first in his career. His best was second. He's done that twice.
Ryan Anderson looked very good, but Armando said in the press conference, as an arena driver, he's got an advantage here. Let's see if he can make it happen.
Yeah, threw some shade at the stadium drivers. That was a fun moment as Tyler Menegas sat right next to him and listened to those comments. Look at Armando going, though. He's got it. He's got the truck looking good, but he just clipped the pod. He goes up into a bicycle, and Ryan Anderson now coming across the red lane, and Ryan Anderson with a great pass. Armando, give him credit, did make the catch, did make the save, and kept going.
So let's catch this replay here. It looked like Armando, to me, just turned a little too tight, got antsy, maybe got excited that he got through that first section very well. You can see Ryan Anderson pushing a little wide, and then look at how Ryan kind of sideways because he's sliding off that lip, but makes a great last corner, coming away with the win.
So Ryan Anderson, 18.794. That jumps him up to the top of the qualifying leaderboard. Armando Castro, 19.610. He takes the third spot. Tristan England, JCB Digatron, our reigning World Finals racing champion. He is in the red lane, in the blue lane, blonde to the bone. Kristen Anderson rocking that pink Gravedigger once again. Kristen, the first female series champion in Monster Jam history. She has not had much luck in qualifying. The last 2 years in the main field, she's qualified 22nd and 23rd. For Tristan England, a little bit better luck. He qualified 6th 1 year ago on his way to winning the racing championship.
Tristan England running this new JCB body this year and a whole new chassis, so let's see how it goes.
Big time jump for both drivers. Kristen now going to navigate this blue lane turn, gets around the burn up on 2 wheels, and Tristan goes drifting a little too tight, kept it to the inside of that lane. And he goes up on 2 wheels, and Digatron has gone over. Kristen Anderson gets across. She's got to slow down a little bit. I don't know if she maybe got shut off and had to slow down a little bit, or she just saw the truck and slowed down on her own. But either way, that's going to affect her time as well.
Yeah, she got shut off. Unfortunately, they thought that maybe Digatron would roll into that lane, but you can see here on the replay, the dirt is very tacky, and the bottom of that berm is creating a big lip, and you can see the front left tire of Digatron grabs that ledge on the bottom of that berm, hikes him up, and puts him on his lid.
So Kristen Anderson, 21.435. So she did get slowed down there at the finish line. Do you think she gets another opportunity to run that blue lane, or are they just going to call it? She is in 4th right now, so not a bad time for her. Digatron, of course, the DNF. That's not what you want to see from your defending racing World Finals champion. I know Tristan has put a lot of pressure on himself because he won the championship in Earthshaker. Now Monster Jam has this brand new partnership with JCB. They wanted a winner. They got one. And I had Alice Bamford on Inside Monster Jam. We talked about this partnership, and her confidence in Tristan England is outstanding, but that's not the start you want at World Finals.
No, that is not the start you want at all. And unfortunately for Tristan, he does have that added extra pressure because he's the reigning World Finals champion. And that's something you put on yourself. And when you try to be better than you were last year or even the same, you tend to push the limits. And that is where you start to make these mistakes and you see things like this happen. JCB Digatron has been fantastic all season. Calm down. It's World Finals, and let's do this one more time.
Well, we are going to check in now with the third member of our broadcast team. Leslie, I heard you were out busy making a Hollywood movie, but we appreciate you coming to SoFi and helping us out here. How you doing down there?
Guys, it is frantic down here. I just saw a bunch of the drivers come up from the LCQ. They're pretty pumped up here. Chris Kohler had a big smile on his face. You know, you were talking about Tristan England and maybe coming in here with a different perspective. You know, he did 2 race passes yesterday, and then he was done. When I talked to Howie Dalton, his crew chief, he said, you know what? This truck feels so good. I don't want to bring it out here and push it to the limits and break it. So I wonder if maybe he wasn't a little complacent yesterday. I mean, I know he's a top-notch competitor, and he would really hate on me for saying that about him, but maybe just a little bit too relaxed, and he should have come in with a little bit more intensity, making that turn in that red lane, knowing that that was the one that was problematic for everybody in practice.
Yeah, and he qualified 12th fastest yesterday in practice, so that was out of that red lane. But an interesting choice. And I talked to Adam Entignap up here about Adam Anderson only wanting to run out of the blue lane. So kind of same strategy there for Tristan, only taking 2 race passes.
Well, and Adam yesterday had a bevy of issues wrong with his truck. His rear steer was wired backwards yesterday, so he didn't have any of that out on the track. Then he had a terminal come off of one of his batteries. Thank goodness he said that that was his electrical issue, because you know how it is with electrical issues. You have to chase them down throughout the entire truck. So he took 4 passes yesterday, and Adam is usually a 2-and-out guy as well, but he just didn't have that confidence in his truck. And he's got a new crew chief as well, so he wanted to come out here and make sure it was solid. Also, Adam is running World Finals for the first time with a spool, and he said it really hurts you in that berm because it will help push you out a little bit. So he's got that going against him as well.
All right, thank you, Leslie. Speaking of Adam Anderson, he is on the track right now in the red lane. We have Gravedigger and Corey Rummel and Megalodon Fire. I love seeing that Megalodon Fire body for the first time since 2019. Corey ran that at World Finals in Orlando as well. So here we go, Gravedigger now trying to get something going in the red lane. Gravedigger goes up high, and Corey Rummel with a great pass here in the blue lane. Adam Anderson, all kinds of issues, even getting across the finish line.
Corey Rummel, it all started on that very first turn after the step-up landing. He actually got the truck loose. You can see him kind of hit the gas and get the body turned. But here we're looking at Adam Anderson do the exact same thing. That last turn in that red lane is absolutely lethal right now. These drivers have to be very careful. That is a major disadvantage. They're turning tight. They have to get up on that berm and get that truck turned around.
Corey Rummel, 19.532. That puts Megalodon in 3rd position right now. Adam Anderson, 25.289, sits in 7th. And we have Colvinard in Black Pearl out on the track. And here's Dalton Widener in Jurassic Attack. I have hyped him up here with those practice times he had yesterday. First World Finals appearance for Dalton. We'll see how that pertains here, what that does for him in qualifying. But it has been an incredible night so far for Team Throttle Monster, and we'll see if Dalton can continue that. But Colvinard has done really well in his history with qualifying, at least in the top 15 through 2 out of his 4 World Finals appearances. Dalton stays low, little floater. Colvinard has some problems getting the truck back on all 4 BKT tires off the landing. And now Dalton Widener goes up over the blue lane. Here is Colvinard coming down into that berm. Way up too high.
Man, that red lane berm is giving these drivers fits.
Imagine being a driver like Dalton Widener and coming around that corner and seeing Black Pearl just coming right up that berm at you. Here's a replay.
Okay, so Dalton Widener, you can see he clips the pod, but look at Black Pearl. It looks like he's going to run right into Dalton. Dalton doesn't care. He knows he's going for a fast time. He stays on the gas, does exactly what he's supposed to do.
You're watching JCB Racing qualifying. This is round 1. Time's coming in for Jurassic Attack. 19.881 for Dalton Widener. That puts him 5th. And Colvinard, Black Pearl, 28.713. Here's your leaderboard. Son of a Digger with the fastest time so far, 18.794. Dragon right there in 2nd. Corey Rummel, we just saw him run, 19.532. Armando Castro 4th. Dalton Widener 5th. Kristen Anderson 6th. Jamie Sullivan 7th, Adam Anderson 8th. Those will be your top 8 right now. The top 8 do get first-round buys, and that leads us to our next pair. We have Colt Stevens and Thunderoris in the red lane, Blake Granger in Max D in the blue lane. Blake is an anomaly here because he wins everywhere he goes, every continent, whether it's here in the States or international. He is one of the best when in stat lines when it comes to Monster Jam, one of the best stat lines comparing to Ryan Anderson and Tyler Menninga. What do you think Blake's chances are here in a racing competition?
I think it is very good, not to mention he has a chip on his shoulder. He has a point to prove that international drivers are just as good as domestic.
Blake Granger looking good so far. Colt Stevens very confident. As you mentioned, you and I talked to him last night. Very confident when it comes to racing bracket. He's a reigning World Finals freestyle champion. And Blake Granger, no problem. Colt Stevens, a great pass as well. So Max D gets across first. We'll see what the times are. But both drivers able to navigate the track and get across the finish line with very little issue.
It looked like Colt Stevens definitely got mentioned from his head crew chief that corner was giving drivers fits. He took it nice and slow, didn't overdrive the truck. Both drivers coming away with 19s.
Shelby Fisher back there in the pits, been doing a great job all season long with Colt, won the World Championship. We're checking out the replay here. There is Colt going through the berm. There is Max D coming across the blue lane, just blazing out there. Gets a great time of 19.084. Colt Stevens 19.524. Blake Granger, Adam, now the second fastest qualifier.
Yeah, you gotta love that. Blake Granger actually not in the truck that he runs internationally, so it'll be very interesting in a totally different Max D vehicle. He said he can still get it done, though.
We got Jim Kohler and Avenger, Caleb Blood, Soldier Fortune. Jim had a couple great passes yesterday in practice. At one point, he was up at the top of the leaderboard, finished, I believe, the 11th fastest time on the track. Caleb Blood is not qualified well in her history. She is qualified last. That's 24th position in both of her World Finals appearances. We'll see if she can turn it around here. Soldier Fortune in the blue lane. Jim Kohler gets some nice air. The 7-time Extreme Air Award winner. Kayla slowing down over the room, still goes over it, and she's going to end up impeding the race lane. Jim Kohler still going. Check out this Avenger body. I'm looking at this now, and he's got all kinds of stuff on that body to check out. I'm excited to see the pit party, but both drivers having issues getting across the racetrack right now.
Both.
And Leslie, I know you've been down there talking to Jim and Kayla, talk about their strategies throughout the day.
Yeah, Jim was really worried about the step up, which is unusual for him because that's his favorite jump on any track out here. He said he was really worried about overshooting it and not really taking it and popping it up and then greasing it on the backside the way that you needed to. Unfortunately, with what happened out here on the track, he's not going to get that run that he's looking for. And he said, he's so excited about a track like this. The tight turns, the long stretches, it reminds him some of the beach tracks that he runs on in the summertime. So he's poised and he's ready and he's excited.
All right, thank you, Leslie. All the graffiti on that Avenger, I thought I saw a 7 deuce deuce on there as well.
I
in
think
spray
you
paint.
did. I think you did. Poised is one of those words I think is so important at World Finals here. If you can have poise, you can really get it done. And somebody with poise, Tyler Menninga.
Yeah. A lot of it is mental as well because it's a big spot. Tyler's one of those drivers I've talked to many times. This is, for him, World Finals is really just another event. He doesn't look at it as a big main stage. But I had him on Inside Monster Jam. I said, where do you think you're going to finish in the racing competition? He said, first. I said, where do you think you're going to finish in freestyle? He said, first. I said, where do you think you're going to finish in skills? He said, first. I said, where are you going to finish in high jump? He said, second. I said, really? We're going to do that? You're not just going to go 4 across the board? And he said, maybe I'll finish in first. We'll see. All right, here we go now. Next pair to the line. It is Tyler Menninga and Gravedigger. He is up against Brianna Mahan and Scooby-Doo in the red lane. So we have Gravedigger in the blue, the purple Gravedigger, and then Scooby-Doo. Brianna Mahan, great to see her back in World Finals. She did not compete because she had a baby, became a mom, and Whiplash now gone for a little while. Now Scooby-Doo, where she made a name for herself, back in World Finals with Brianna Mahan behind the wheel. Tyler Menninga right now looking great off the racetrack, coming across the blue lane. Tyler on an absolute rail right now as he crosses the finish line.
Oh, that was a beautiful pass. Again, all starts with the first corner out of that blue lane, that first tight corner. Tyler Menninga absolutely nailed it, kept the speed up, had the confidence. You could see Brianna Mahan doesn't decent job of getting around that inside line, good, but unfortunately probably not going to come up with the time that she wanted.
Yeah, that looked like the fastest time. It actually is the fastest time, 18.501. Just as I said that, it comes up on the board. So Tyler Menega now jumps up to the top. He had the fastest practice time yesterday of an 18.148, and now he's at the top of the qualifying board, 18.501. Up next, we have Camden Murphy, Bakugan Dragonoid in the red lane, Lindsay Reed, Lucas Stabilizer in the blue lane. Big spot here for Lindsay in Lucas Stabilizer, Leslie.
Yeah, it sure is, guys. And, she didn't get all the practice passes that she wanted yesterday because she broke a tie rod. She had that Jim Kohler effect. She skied up off that step up, and when she came down, it just split the Heims off that tie rod. And so she said she watched a lot of video from everybody else last night. She knows where she can get faster, even though those weren't the times she wanted yesterday. So she's hoping to creep and crawl her way to the top today.
All right, thanks, Leslie. And Leslie, not known as a racer, but maybe some people forget, back in 2019, she won the Showdown, which is the LCQ. She made it through and then won her first round race in the main field before she couldn't compete because of mechanicals. So she has done it before, and she can do it again. Camden Murphy qualified first last year, made it all the way to the racing finals, fell short to Tristan England. Is this Camden Murphy's year to finally win the big one?
It could be. He looked very good in open practice yesterday, but something that's an advantage for Lindsay Reed is going up against Camden Murphy, because she knows if she can hang in there, she's going to get a fast time as well.
Camden Murphy, that's got to be a top 5 pass right there. Lindsay, great pass as well in the blue lane. As we await the times, you can check out the original Superglue Glued to the Action replay from SoFi Stadium here at Inglewood.
Camden Murphy coming into this last turn. Look at how he gets that left rear tire turned early, hits that rear steer, gets it up on the berm. That was a smooth pass by Camden Murphy, consistent.
18.625 for Camden Murphy, 21.825 for Lindsay Reed. That puts Camden Murphy at second, right behind Tyler Menega. So right now your top 3, Tyler Menega, Camden Murphy, and Ryan Anderson. Our next pair, Bryce Kenny, Great Clips Mohawk Warrior in the red lane, and he goes up with Bari Musauer and Zombie in the blue lane. Redemption, retribution, whatever you want to call it, has to be on the mind of Bryce Kenny. We talked about this all season long. We have seen a different Bryce. Seems to be having more fun, but man, who can forget his performance at World Finals last year?
Yeah, it was I would say heartbreaking is the word. It's just so unfortunate when you have that many mechanicals and you can't make it to the line.
Zombie goes up. Great Clips Mohawk Warrior clips the back on the ski slope downhill. And now Bari Musauer in the blue lane looking strong. Bryce Kenny going to go up here on the berm.
Bari Musauer exiting nice and tight. See if he can get that truck under control.
Got a little bumpy, but he did keep control, kept it in the race lane. And a great pass there for Bari Musauer in Zombie. Bryce Kenny gets across as well. Here's the replay.
I thought Bari was going to stay a little bit tighter in this last corner, but he really hammered on the throttle. These drivers are going for that qualifying time. Remember, these races don't matter. It's all about the time.
And we await the times here as you check out the top 8 so far. Gravedigger, Bakugan Dragonoid, Son of a Digger, Max D Dragon, Thunderoris, Megalodon, and El Toro Loco. Zombie checks in at 19.479. That is going to put Bari Musauer currently into that top 8 conversation. He did finish there last year as well. That also means we're down to one truck. The lone shark left, Todd LeDuc, because there's 23. That's right, you like that.
Yeah.
Because there's 23 superstars here as we await the winner of the LCQ later on. Todd drew basically a bye run here for himself, but he still has to qualify. He will get one from each pass. How different is that going to be for Todd, not having a driver to push him to the finish line?
So there's advantages and disadvantages to this. For Todd LeDuc, I think it's an advantage because he has nobody, no pressure. He has silence. He can focus a little bit more.
He comes off the ski slope, goes a little bit out to the right, gives him a nice angle there for the berm turn. He nailed it. And here comes Megalodon now across that far side turn in the blue lane. Todd LeDuc goes tight, clips it, stays in the race lane. What a great turn there for Todd. He started turning right when he hit the corner. He ends up tight. I thought he was going to clip the pod. He avoids it and gets across.
Let's see if we can check out that replay. Todd LeDuc did a fantastic job of shortening up this track. You don't have a lot of momentum, but here he is, Todd LeDuc. Look at that front wheel. That right front wheel gets right over the last roller. Todd LeDuc with some speed.
And Todd LeDuc showing it off, 18.925. That is going to put him in 4th. So through round 1, here's your top 8. Tyler Menega, Camden Murphy, Ryan Anderson, Todd LeDuc, Blake Granger, Cody Saucier, Barry Musawa, Cole Stevens. Anybody surprise you on that list?
No, kind of exactly what I thought it would be. Son of a Digger definitely would have been a little bit higher, but we do have some more qualifying, so who knows what comes up next.
Cole Stevens clinging to that A spot. How about it for the World Finals Freestyle champion to check in with the first round bye in racing?
Yeah, that is very cool, but remember that 8th spot could still be up for grabs after that LCQ race, and let's see who gets that time.
Well, we're only halfway done here, Adam. We still have one more round of main field racing qualifying, and then guess what happens? It's the LCQ, baby. That's all coming up next. We'll be right back with more qualifying.
Into a career at the University of Northwestern Ohio. From high performance to automotive, diesel, and everything in between, you'll find a degree that will get you a job.
Students that go through our programs have fantastic experiences, and they come out getting good job placements.
70% hands-on, no out-of-state tuition, and accredited degrees in trades that are in high demand all across the country.
10 out of 10. If you even think this is the right place for you, you better just go.
Learn more about your future at unoh.edu.
Stunts, Monster Jam. Roar into Monster Jam stunts like never before. New Monster Jam Thunder Roarus drop playset. Whoa, over 6 feet tall. Here comes Thunder Roarus. Speed down the mega ramp. Huge jump. Switch stunts and drop in your favorite Monster Jam trucks. Dragon front flip. El Toro Loco corkscrew. Thunder Roarus drop from Monster Jam. Other trucks sold separately. Adult assembly required. Batteries not included.
We are back here at SoFi Stadium, so we still do have a pair here. We have Weston Anderson and Zach Garner, so a little bit of a shuffling of the pair order. So Weston Anderson, Zach Garner, we were impressed with Zach, and he came in earlier today and really has the confidence here as we continue on in qualifying. What do you expect out of these two young superstars here as we get ready for round 2?
I'm expecting a lot from Zach Garner because in practice he was so consistent. It wasn't like he had one good time. He had multiple good times in a row that were on the board. Zach Garner pushing it deep into that first turn, gets the truck to come around.
The final pair here in their first pass, Weston Anderson, that orange Gravedigger, Zach Garner, wild side. Look at the turn from Zach Garner up on 2 wheels, and they come off the finish line, and this is what I'm talking about. This is live excitement in the racing. We're going to take a look at the replay. What a finish that was as the two trucks bump in the race lane.
Okay, here they come. Zach Garner slinging that truck in the first turn. What happens to Zach Garner is he tries to get this truck turned. He knows he has a little bit of a disadvantage. He sees Weston Anderson, hammers the throttle on 2 wheels, a little bit off balance. They run into each other. This is going to be fantastic racing at World Finals.
So Zach Garner, 19.431. That is going to take Cole Stevens out of the top 8 after round 1. Wildside checks in at 7. And right now, we are going to check back in with Leslie Mears downstairs. Leslie, what's up? How you doing?
Kohler here. He was just tickled pink about his position in that LCQ bracket, but you were really worried about your truck. How much more confidence do you have now knowing your truck is 100%?
Yeah, 110% is the perfect way to put it. Yesterday was practice, and we had nothing but problems. I thought the front steering was screwed up, which it was, so we rebuilt that. Come back down for open practice, and the rear steer was gone the whole time too. So front or rear didn't want to work with me, so practice was a wash, but I know I'm fast. I know I have this, so I just got to be consistent. You know, it's not really about who the fastest is today. It's going to be about who survives. There's so many trucks. There's so many variables that can change. You know, it's going to be about who can hold on the longest and survive.
Well, Chris, we're excited to see if you can make it happen.
Yeah, Leslie, Chris, another one of those drivers in the LCQ that does have a World Finals main field appearance, trying to get back there. He has talked about before on our broadcast that he knows he's fast. He just hasn't been able to really put it together. He has a lot of success on tracks like Arlington that are long, that are tacky, that are dry, sort of like this. So he's showing that so far here today. But can he continue that success and get into the finals of the LCQ and eventually work his way back into the main field where he thinks he belongs? And a lot of people out there online also think he belongs.
Yes, I think he truly does belong. I was very surprised to see him in the LCQ, but he did not have a year like he did his rookie year. He struggled a little bit in the Stadium Series, but you can see that breath of fresh air in his face after that interview. You could tell the relief in his body, in his posture of like, okay, we got the truck fixed. I know I'm fast enough. If the truck works, I can get it done.
Yeah, he's got a lot of work to do yet. We're not done yet. We still have the second round of main field qualifying. We had that late pair, Zach Garner and Weston Anderson, get to the line after the break, so round one is officially concluded. We do have our top 7 up there. Colt Stevens drops out of that 8th spot, so the 8th spot now goes to Barney Musauer, but Zach Garner continues where he left off in practice. He checks in that top 8. Wildside putting on a show here in his first main field World Finals appearance.
Yeah, Zach Garner has been absolutely fantastic, and I know I said that, but I'm going to use that word about Zach Garner all weekend. From the first time he hit the track, he was fast, and then he hit the track again, and he was fast again. And that is something that's very hard to do. When you see an athlete that can put multiple runs together, get that consistency and speed, that is telling me that driver is comfortable and he has more skill than the rest of the drivers out here. I think Zach Garner has something to prove, and we're going to see him prove it this weekend at World Finals.
So a fun story about Armando Castro and Zach Garner. They competed on the same series. Armando won that series. Zach would finish in 3rd, but Zach had Armando's number this year, and Armando said that when I talked to him about World Finals, he said the one driver he was worried about was Zach Garner, and he said the first thing that Zach said to him when Zach was announced as a competitor is, "I look forward to beating you at World Finals." So,
I love the head games. That's something that we do a lot in Supercross, and that's just Zach Garner letting Armando know that, hey, bruh, I am here to be your competition. I am here to beat you. That is my one true goal. And just know, when I go to bed at night, I am going to be doing absolutely everything that I can to put myself on top and be in front of you.
all right, so the track getting adjusted right now here between round 1 and round 2 of the main field qualifying. To get an update on the track changes, we are going to go back down to Leslie.
Yeah, so really a couple little maintenance things. One is the water. We're going to keep the dust down, but we've got to remember when we put water on the track, it does change the consistency. I think really what the crew chiefs up here have told me that they're keeping their eyes on are those wide sweeping turns and the berms. They're looking for ruts out there. We can see that a lot of the top dirt has really worn away off those wide sweeping turns at the end, and so you've got to keep your eye on that, maybe possibly blue grooving out there, getting a little rubber into the dirt where it's really going to stick and it's going to cause some problems for them out there. You've also got to look for those ruts as well. And so these eyes in the sky up here are going to be instrumental for this second round, knowing where the bar is set by our first round of qualifying competitors for the main field.
Leslie, what is the consensus down there amongst the drivers and the crew chiefs as far as how the lanes are playing out? Is it similar to yesterday where the blue lane seems to be the favorite? Is that something that stayed consistent so far today?
I mean, for the drivers down here, it's a personal preference, right? You know, we see guys go out there and just crush it in the red lane, and that's because they've got the right strategy for that berm that they're coming in so hot to at the end of their race out there. But really, you know, I always go back to it's 90% mental out here. It's keeping your driver calm. It's staying in your own head and running your own race out there, not watching that other competitor out there. You know, Ryan Anderson texted me back and forth today, and he said, honestly, I don't know where the focus is on the track because there are so many marks out there that you could really miss. And, you know, Tom Mentz and I talked about that, 5 to 6 different marks that you have to hit. He said he's more concerned about running a very clean race. And if he can do that, he can go rounds.
All right, thank you, Leslie. We'll check back in with you here in a little bit. Here's your current racing qualifying leaderboards. You talked about Ryan Anderson. He checks in at third. Tyler Menninga, no surprise there, the fastest qualifier so far. Camden Murphy back near the top of the leaderboard. Todd the Duke flying solo. And I asked you that question about was, not having another driver next to him in the side-by-side S racing track going to affect him? Obviously, it didn't. He sits at fourth. Blake Granger, and we talked about this. Blake has one of the best racing records in Monster Jam. When you compare his stats for the season, and you and I talked about this off the air, they are right there with Tyler Menninga. They are right there with Ryan Anderson. Blake is a driver that feels very overlooked.
Yes.
He feels very underestimated, underappreciated. He has a chip on his shoulder the size of Manhattan Beach, and he is I think he has something to prove here. He felt like, as you mentioned, that he should have been here before. Now that he is here, I told him the best way to prove you belong is to go out there and win the whole thing. So.
Yeah, and you could tell it was so apparent in the press conference, that chip on his shoulder. When he spoke, he was like, international drivers can compete here as well, and I'm holding the torch, and these drivers are just as good. My racing record, this. There was multiple things that he was giving us examples of a testimony of how good international drivers are and how he's just holding that torch and representing for all of them. So I'm sure out here that chip might even be a little bit bigger at World Finals just because he's trying to prove that the international drivers as a collective are just as good, if not better, than some of the domestic drivers.
Tristan Eaglet has some issues on his first race pass. Leslie is downstairs with his crew chief, Howie Dalton.
So Howie has won 2 championships with his drivers out here. And so Howie, we saw Tristan as he's vying for this back-to-back racing championship. You told me he only took 2 passes yesterday. What did he say to you after he came back in after spilling it out there on the track?
Hey, he just said he stuck it in too hard. It teetered on him. He should have stayed in it just a little bit longer, and I think it would have pulled it out of it.
So you're seeing what's going on with the track. We talked about water, maintenance. It looks like it's staying pretty consistent out there.
The track is definitely staying very consistent. The start line's getting better. It ought to be good from here.
Okay, so what are your words of wisdom for Tristan when you're going to jump back on radio for round 2 here to help him get that bye?
We're just going to try to lob it over the roller and slow and steady around the first turn and lay into it on the last one.
So there you go, guys. What we've been talking about all day. Smooth is fast. Slow and steady wins the race.
It worked for him last year. We'll see if he can turn it around here. Let's go back to Blake Granger real quick as the next pair comes out. Looking at his stats, 25-9 racing record, 7 racing wins, 4 time racing wins, 9 freestyle wins, 12 skills wins, 14 overall event championships. That's internationally and domestically in 2024. I don't care which tour you're on. Those are great numbers.
Yeah, the word that comes to mind, and it's only one word, is elite. Blake Granger deserves to be here. He's here for a reason, and he's one of those drivers that could throw a little scramble in this situation.
We got our first pair on the track here for round 2 of qualifying. They are switching lanes. We take the best time for each driver, no matter which lane they are in, and that is where they will qualify for the racing bracket. It is Jamie Sullivan, Monster Mutt Dalmatian in the blue lane, and Cody Saucier Dragon in the red lane. Both of these drivers, Jamie struggled a lot more than Cody did, but Cody, surprisingly, in 6 right now, I did expect him to be up there in the top 3. We'll see, and 6 is not bad at all, but when you're Cody Saucier, he's been the fastest qualifier before. I know how much this means to him to be up there near the top, and I know he gets compared to Ryan Anderson and Tyler Menninga, and I think he wants to feel like he is better than them and faster than them.
Well, he also hit the track when it was a little bit fresher and not as broken, so let's see if he can get a better time this time.
Jamie Sullivan goes up over the berm, gets it this time. Cody Saucier down the red lane, comes up to his side of the berm, goes wide across the turning pod, and Cody Saucier, much better race pass for him here in the red lane. Jamie Sullivan as well. She comes flying across the race ramp, but a great pass for her. And Jamie Sullivan, Monster Mutt Dalmatian. Check out the original Super Glue, Glue to the Action replay.
It looked like to me the water they put down was a little bit slippery. Jamie Sullivan not quite meshing with this track like she wanted to. She's going to have to open up the beginning of that corner, get in there a little bit tighter. Dragon coming away with another time of a 19.436.
Yeah, 19.436, so he was actually faster in the blue lane So he's 19.123 will be the time that sticks. Jamie Sullivan checks with 21.275. Now we do get Tristan England back on the track. JCB Digatron in the blue lane. Kristen Anderson, the pink Gravedigger, in the red lane. We will see if that strategy that Howie was talking to Tristan pays off here. Again, we talked about this at his first pass. The pressure on this kid to not only defend his championship, but also to do well for his new partner. It's got to be immense, and to come out there and just roll the truck on that first lane, you want to forget that and move on and do this one and try to make it right.
Yeah, and I want to go back to what Leslie was talking about. Something that's difficult about that red lane is you're coming in so much faster. In this blue lane, you're going to see right here, Tristan comes in off that step up a little bit slower into this first turn, makes that a little easier.
Kristen Anderson has some huge air off the step up. She is in the red lane hitting the corner. Tristan goes wide. It's like a tongue twister. Kristen here. Tristan England across the finish line. Kristen Anderson as well. So JCB Digatron makes up for that first pass, gets across. Now we check out the times here. Take a look at the original Super Glue. Glue to the action replay.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think Tristan is going to be happy with that time. It looks like Kristen goes a little bit long on that step up, pushing wide. Tristan trying to give it everything it had right at the end. A little bit of water got put down. You could tell it's slick.
20.125 for Tristan England, 21.616 for Kristen Anderson. So Tristan not going to make it into the top 8, not going to get that first round bye. If he's going to defend his championship, he's going to have to fight his way through round 1.
Yeah, and it looks like to me that the track is actually slower right now after they put that water down. I was hoping that maybe if they put that water down, it would help the trucks get turned in those very tight corners. But it doesn't seem to be helping.
Ryan Anderson, son of a digger, currently the third fastest qualifier. He is in the blue lane. Armando Castro, champion of the E-Series, in the red lane. And here we go. El Toro Loco, son of a digger. Son of a digger trying to stay at the top of the leaderboard. Armando Castro trying to get it. You talked about it earlier, that confidence about how he said this is an arena driver track. Well, now he's got to prove that.
Yeah, he does have to prove that, and Ryan Anderson came out swinging on that step up. Ryan Anderson gets a wheel over the outside of that single. I don't know if that's going to be a penalty or not. Ryan Anderson on a heater.
He just came flying across the lane, went all the way across the race. I think he went over El Toro Loco. Let's check out the replay.
So El Toro Loco, you can see sliding a little bit too much, pushes those tires, comes on the inside, hikes up that right front wheel, and the rear steer stays on just a little too long, pushing him back to the right. Doesn't quite have the speed that he wanted.
The 18.984 for Ryan Anderson. He will continue with his first round time of 18.794. It does kind of beg the question about the penalties here on this style of a racetrack, because the race ramp not exactly defined like it is during the season. You have a lot more details down there, a lot more variables. So how do you really define a 5-second penalty and get your tires across?
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult for these officials, but something going on either with the drivers or the lighting tree right there. It looked like Corey Rummel kind of jumped and then stopped and then went again. I'll be very interested if they don't restart this race.
Adam Anderson, Corey Rummel, Gravedigger blue lane, Megalodon Fire red lane. Yeah, we await the times here. We continue on. This is round 2 of JCB Racing qualifying so far. Gravedigger's Tyler Menega, fastest qualifier. Here is the Super Glue to the action replay.
Adam Anderson getting that drive out of the blue lane. I feel like we're going to be talking about the blue lane a lot and how fast that thing is. Corey Rummel making a good last turn, but not the time that he needs.
Adam Anderson just entered the top 8, 19.071. That is going to put him in the 5th position. That will knock Max D's Blake Granger down 1. Dragon Wildside are going to maintain the top 8. So Adam Anderson, Gravedigger with a great time. It is Menega, Murphy, Ryan Anderson, LeDuc, Adam Anderson, Granger, Saucier, and Garner. If you're just joining us, those are the 8 fastest times so far. We continue on with round 2 of qualifying for the main field. This is Dalton Widener, Jurassic Attack in the red lane, Cole Vennard, Black Pearl in the blue lane. Look at that SUV body there on the Black Pearl. Cole looking sharp.
Definitely looking good. It's all about this step up right here. Who can get that nice and clean? Black Pearl nails it.
That is where slow is fast, really. It's all about the landing. He kept all 4 BKT tires on the race ramp on the way down, able to get that throttle momentum. And there is Dalton Widener struggling to get across the berm. He goes all the way up top and then comes sideways, almost goes out of the race lane. Cole Vennard with a great pass in the blue lane. And the Black Pearl not only looking sharp, I think Cole is at the top of his game coming back.
So Dalton Widener, what he tried to do was open up that last turn like we've been talking about. That is what you're supposed to do. But unfortunately for Dalton, he gets a bad bounce, oversteers, throws that rear end out, gets the rear steer just a little bit too late, and then that left BKT rear hooks over the top of the berm, and there's nothing he can do.
So 20.393 for Black Pearl, 22.369 for Jurassic Attack. So Dalton Widener will not get a first round bye, and neither will Cole Vennard. The top 8 remain the same. The next pair is out on the track. Blake Granger, Max D in the red lane, currently qualifying 6th. Colt Stevens in the blue lane. Colt for a while was in the top 8. He had a great first pass. Can he keep it going here?
Well, he is going to be in the better lane, so he's going to have more of an advantage here for Colt Stevens. But the thing about it is can you take the horse by the reins and take advantage of being in the better lane?
That's Colt's 3rd main field appearance in his 2 qualifiers. He qualified 7th and 19th. Both of them drifting around. Great turn for Colt Stevens going up on the berm. And Blake Granger went a little far to the left. He's got the truck now centered, stops, goes all the way across the turning pot and back into the race lane.
Colt Stevens hit the rear steer earlier than I've seen anybody and makes one of the sharpest turns we've seen. And then Blake Granger somehow turns even tighter in that last corner as you're watching on the replay. I don't even know how that's possible. Maybe some slick dirt on top of the berm.
He started to go back the way he came across the race ramp. 19.559 for Colt Stevens. That is just going to put him outside of the top 8. 25.093 for Max D. So Blake Granger stays in 6th with his round 1 time. We'll see if it holds. Caleb Blood out on the track. Soldier Fortune in the red lane. Jim Kohler, Avenger in the blue lane. Kayla's got to have a lot on her mind this weekend, not only with trying to compete here in Soldier Fortune, but with the debut of Sparkle Smash and the stunt. How does she maintain her composure on the track in these competitions?
It's going to be very hard, especially because this track does not suit Caleb Blood's style. It's very technical, very tight. She likes to hammer the throttle just like she did right there. Oversteers the truck, has to back off. Caleb Blood struggling a little bit, but hopefully she can get a decent time here at the end.
Jim not with a clean pass either. He struggled coming out of the berm. They're trying to get the truck back into their race lane and keep it centered. He does get across the finish line, but both of them did struggle a little bit as we check out the original Super Glue glued to the action replay.
Caleb Blood in that last corner riding over the blue lane and then still can't make that turn tight enough and gets on the center divider at the finish line. That'll be a penalty for Soldier Fortune.
22.396 for Avenger, 28.556 for Caleb Blood, Soldier Fortune. Neither will finish in the top 8. Speaking of the top 8, the guy at the top of that leaderboard, Tyler Menega, Gravedigger, that 18.501, still holding strong. He is out on the track this time in the red lane, and Brianna Mahan, Scooby-Doo in the blue lane. For Tyler Menega to be fastest qualifier, that would be a heck of a start to his weekend. He is the reigning Great Clips 2 Wheel Skills Challenge champion, but I know from talking to him about this both on air and off the air that the racing and the freestyle is what he really wants to win this year to prove that he can get it done on the big stage.
Yeah, the thing about racing that all these drivers really particularly love is that no matter what goes on, it is a for sure that you got the faster time and you were better. There's no fan judging. There's nothing else going on. And Tyler rides over the berm. That's going to be a penalty and impeding.
Well, Brianna went up onto the berm as well from that blue lane. I thought she was trying to push Tyler across the finish line a little bit. We're going to take a look at the replay. I'm not sure that was Tyler as much as it was Brianna. He goes up high, but look at Brianna right here. Just comes right in. So they both met on that berm.
So Brianna, to me, is still in her lane. She might have slid out just a little bit, but that's Tyler's mistake, impeding Brianna Mahan's line quite a bit here.
And he does get a penalty, 25.501, so he did impede the race lane. 21.264 for Brianna Mahan. You got to wonder if that slowed her down a little bit.
Well, was that a little bit of strategy? It can't be. I don't think so.
Well, either way, Tyler Menega is still our fastest qualifier, so We continue on here, round 2 of qualifying. Lindsey Reed, Lucas Stabilizer in the red lane. Camden Murphy, Bakugan Dragonoid in the blue lane. Camden second right now in qualifying for his round 1 pass in the red lane. We'll see how the blue lane does for Camden. He still has a shot at fastest qualifier here, which is an award he won last year.
This could be it for Camden Murphy if he can get it all together.
Yeah, floats the truck up, great corner on the berm. He is on one right now. He keeps this up. He could move up to that top spot. He's got to finish strong. Camden Murphy on 3 wheels, drifts too far and ends up. This is not going to make it up to the top of the leaderboard. So Camden Murphy had it in his grasp, and then he just turned too tight.
Yeah, pushing it a little too hard. He knew he had that cushion by being second qualifier, and that's what you get. You get that advantage of kind of throwing caution to the wind in this last qualifying practice, and you get to just kind of go for it and really see if you can put down a fast time.
Next pair to the line, Barry Masauer Zombie in the red lane. And Great Clips Mohawk Warriors Bryce Kenny in the blue lane. Bari, big announcement at the press conference yesterday talking about the Marvel Monster Jam trucks coming domestically. Bari playing double duty, not only driving Zombie, but now also behind the wheel of Black Panther internationally, and he will take over Black Panther domestically. So Bari's got Zombie Nation, and he's got Wakanda that he's got to represent as well now with Black Panther. So I know Bari is so proud, not only of Zombie, but of Black Panther. A great driver, great friend, great opportunity for him. And right now, let's check back in downstairs with our pit reporter, Leslie Mears.
Yeah, guys, Cody Sosi came upstairs to talk to me about where he was at 7th. He wasn't happy with that. The other thing that he said is that the water is really impacting the track out there, and that's why I think we're not seeing as fast of times.
All right, thank you, Leslie. So a great point there. And Barty Masauer looking fast in the red lane. Look at the finish there for Bryce Kenny, and he's going to go over and save it. There is the save of the day, man. That is, we don't want to see saves like that, but why not throw one in there before qualifying ends?
And something I love about that, I'd love to see the replay there for Bryce Kenny, but he was just so patient, and that's what you get when you're a World Finals contestant. Watch Bryce Kenny here. He gets a little sideways. He doesn't get too wild, too excited. He's going to flip on his lid. He just waits for that extra second, grabs the throttle just a perfect amount, and lands back on all 4 BKTs.
And he also lands back in the top 8, 19.052 for Zombie. Puts him at 5th. That is going to drop Zach Garner out of the top 8. Cody Saucier now in 8th. Blake Granger 7th. And Adam Anderson dropping to 6th. So a great pass there for Bari. Now Todd LeDuc back on the track. Look at all kinds of lonesome out there. It's a sad shark right now, Adam. Megalodon in that red lane. But Todd is looking great with that 4th spot and looks like he will get a first round bye.
Yeah, I think that's a happy shark if you're asking me. Todd LeDuc. This is an advantage being by himself. He is one of the better racers. He has a big racing background, Todd LeDuc does. And for him, he can quiet it down, kind of like I talked about in the first round. He doesn't have any competition pushing him or breaking his mental.
Todd LeDuc, great jump off the starting line. Now comes down, continues on that ski slope. The bottom half of that red race lane, the ramp. He's got it up here, goes off the jump again. And now into the berm goes Megalodon across, stays low, great corner again. Todd looking sharp in the red lane, goes off to the left, finishes strong. And that could be a faster time for Todd than at 18.925.
Solid run for Todd LeDuc. It was all in that last corner. He came down super tight. You could see how he got the truck very straight. Oh, man, that's a good, solid run, especially coming out of the red lane.
So we have 18.542 for Todd LeDuc, so that does in fact beat his previous time, and that will put Todd up very high on the leaderboard. That should actually put him up in the 2nd spot. So how about that run for Todd LeDuc, making a statement here. And Todd's a guy who hasn't won a racing champ. He's won one racing championship, but he went back-to-back in 2014 and 2015 winning racing and freestyle. So it's been a decade for him since he held a World Finals trophy up. I know that he's a driver that's always talked about with his confidence, but it's been a long time since Todd has stood tall with a World Finals championship trophy on the biggest stage. And I think Todd knows that, and Todd is coming out here and make a statement not to be forgotten. And we saw that surge from him this year on the Stadium Championship Series. You had Tyler Menega out front. You had Tristan England. Todd LeDuc on Stadium Championship Series East went all the way from last to 3rd and just kept winning and looked super strong at the end of the year. And it looks like he's carried that momentum here.
You know, and I think the biggest statement that Todd LeDuc just went out and made is we've seen the blue lane be fast, and then it's fast again, and then it's fast again, and then it's fast again. Todd LeDuc just put down the second fastest time in qualifying out of the red lane. If we are talking comfortable, Todd LeDuc's name is written all over it.
And the good news for everybody else behind him, it doesn't drop them out of the order because Todd stays up there, so Dragon's still in the A spot. Right now we have a situation on the track where Wildside is on the clock. So right now we have Weston Anderson and the orange Gravedigger out in the red lane. Wildside not on the track yet. They had the clock up here, and here comes Wildside. So Zach Garner did answer the call, and he did answer the clock, and Wildside, without the body on it, still going to come out here and make a pass. So they don't have to obviously finish first. That'd be great. That 18.501 is the fastest time from Tyler Menninga, but in order to get a first-round bye, get a little more time, and one less race you have to run, you need to get a 19.123 to make it into the top 8.
Something I'm definitely looking at right now is for Weston Anderson. I'm sure his crew chief is trying to give him confidence. Todd LeDuc just put down the second fastest time in this qualifier, but clearly something going on with Zach Garner. The body is off that truck. It would be very crucial for that extra bit of time if Zach Garner can put this pass in and be top 8 so we can fix that truck.
As our final pair in round 2 of the main field qualifying, Zach Garner Wildside in the blue lane, Weston Anderson Gravedigger orange in the red lane. Zach Garner flying the truck around as Weston Anderson hits the berm. Man, both of them just slinging these trucks. They want to get that first round bye. I can't wait to see the times. They both look fast. And Zach Garner coming out, answering the call last second, gets to the line and puts in a great run.
You can see Zach Garner. He knows it's all on the line right here. He is pedal to the metal. Weston Anderson, a flawless run, comes out in front with a little bit better time.
And Zach Garner just knocks Cody Saucier out of the top 8. Leslie just said Cody was not happy where he was. He goes from 7th out of the top 8 as Wildside moves all the way up to 5th. So Zach Garner comes in with a great pass, and he is 5th. Here are your top 8 qualifiers. These 8 drivers may or may not, and I say that because I'm going to explain that here in a second, get a first-round bye. Tyler Menninga will, Todd LeDuc, Camden Murphy, Ryan Anderson, Weston Anderson, Barry Musauer, Adam Anderson, and Blake Granger. So it looks like there was a switch in the times. Weston Anderson, they gave Weston Anderson a different time. They switched the times now, so it's Weston and not Zach Garner that moves into the 5th spot. But look at Blake Granger down here in 8th. He is on the bubble right now. He is not guaranteed a first-round bye. If the LCQ winner in the final race in the last chance qualifier gets a faster time than 19.084, then Blake Granger would drop out of that top 8, and the LCQ winner would move in.
Yes, and let's make that very clear. So to be able to bump Blake Granger in that 8th spot, the LCQ winner, so in the very, very last race of the LCQ, you have to get that time. It's not the LCQ winner from any other particular race in that LCQ bracket. It's only that final race time that can bump him out.
Right, which could ultimately be, your 3rd or 4th race pass coming in the day. So that by that point, the driver should have it figured out. It's a huge advantage for whoever gets to the final round of the last chance qualifier to try to bump in. So right now, nobody's safe, but the one guy that is safe is Tyler Menninga. He is going to get the fastest qualifier here this year. So a great run for Tyler Menninga, second time in his career that he's the fastest qualifier. We're going to hear from our qualifier right now. We'll go down and join Leslie.
You were like a bolt of lightning out there with that first pass. And so, I know you were out here walking it early. What was it that really turned the corner for you that, really put you on to that almost under 18 time?
Yeah, just running those passes yesterday, feeling as smooth as I could in each and every lane that I ran. I feel good in both lanes. And honestly, the pass that was the top qualifying pass today, I didn't think it was going to hold. I fumbled up going up over the step up. I tripped it up a little bit. Luckily, that time held, and we're going into tomorrow with an amazing amount of confidence.
So you're telling me that there's actually more out there?
Absolutely. If I can get that step up down perfect, I ran an 18.1 yesterday in practice. That's an 18.5. I think that you might be able to see a sub-18 pass on this track.
Okay, so you get to celebrate today. So what does this mean going into the big show?
It's everything. You know what? This amount of confidence, being the fastest in practice, now the fastest in qualifying for the racing portion of tomorrow's events, I have the most confidence. I know Matt, we crashed the truck really bad yesterday. He had that thing turned around overnight. And look at this. We're right here on the podium for qualifying. It doesn't matter as much for tomorrow, but you know what? The confidence is key.
Well, here you go. The hardware is all yours. Here comes Scott Alinsky to give it up. Let's hear it for Tyler Menninga, your fastest qualifier. Guys.
Thank you, Leslie. Tyler Menninga back on, celebrating down there with the Fast Qualifier trophy. I love the Hollywood-themed World Finals trophies. Last year we saw at Nashville the guitars. Now we get the Fast Qualifier, the Hollywood, the cameras, lights, camera, action here. Tyler Menninga stepping up, and this is a great start for him. We'll see if it holds.
Yeah, for Tyler Menninga, we've seen this all season long. Tyler has been very fast. He hasn't been able to particularly produce at World Finals, but this seems like a little bit of the change of the guard here. Tyler Menninga writing it down in the history books.
Last time he was fastest qualifier was in Orlando. He would make it to the semifinal round, so we'll see if he can become the second driver in this field to go from fastest qualifier to World Finals racing champion. He's been nearly unbeatable on the racetrack all season long, and if there's anybody in this field that would be a heavy favorite for racing, even coming in before today's Tyler Menninga, and I think he just put an exclamation point or a stamp on that.
You know, it's weird, though. I disagree with you a little bit. My favorite for racing would have to be Tristan England, the reigning champ from last year. Tyler Menninga, like I mentioned, has struggled in the past World Finals before. He's definitely fantastic throughout the year, and the stats are there to prove it, but for some reason, Tyler Menninga sometimes struggles on the big stage.
Main field qualifying is over. We cannot set the bracket yet because we got one more big event coming up. It's the last chance qualifier. One of these 12 superstars will fight and compete for 2 world championships. You'll find out who coming up next. We are back at SoFi Stadium here in Inglewood, California, just outside Los Angeles. It's a big-time Hollywood feel at World Finals as we kick off the weekend. We just saw a great main field qualifier. Tyler Menninga shoots himself all the way up to the top of the leaderboard. We watched him. We talked about this a little bit before the break, but all season long he has been absolutely dominant. He led that series pretty much from start to finish. He had one bad event, and that's really it. But let's talk about Tyler Menninga's chances in the main field. You said you feel like the heavy favorite is Tristan England, or your favorite is Tristan England. I feel like Tristan's confidence may be jumbled a little bit after the results of today's qualifier. How do you recover from something like that? Because he's the defending champion, comes in to qualifying, rolls the truck first time, and then doesn't make it into that top 8.
Well, I want to be very clear on why I said the heavy favorite coming in was Tristan England. That's the key word here, coming in to this event. Not now. Tristan England is struggling immensely. He did those 2 practice times yesterday. He thought he was all good to go, but now it looks like Tristan England is struggling with that new JCB truck. I don't know if it's the nerves. I don't know if it's the pressure of him being the reigning World Finals champion, but something is going on at the JCB camp, and they need to get it figured out.
And we saw Weston Anderson come in that last pass. And as I mentioned earlier, the times up on the leaderboard were different because they both crossed the finish line very similar. So Weston jumps up into the top 8 on that last run. What do you think Weston Anderson's chances are? Because he has so many eyes on him, so much expectations. And I feel like it's unfair for a kid that young. He's just, 2 days off of his birthday. And he threw out some crazy numbers at the press conference that, Adam was like 122 days or 144 days after his birthday. He's, going to be 28 days after his birthday. So it's Weston math. It was accurate.
It was actually
like
pretty accurate.
28 days after his birthday, he can win a World Finals championship, and I think that would
and be the youngest
to win one after their birthday. So talk about Weston's chances, because he has gotten stronger last year after World Finals. He disappointed in year 1, got a little stronger, and now this year, could he make that third-year jump into the upper echelon by winning a championship?
I think he can. Weston Anderson's one of those drivers that really is, like you said, a wild card. Weston Anderson, when everything meshes together, Weston Anderson is unbelievable. Yeah. Like, he is so fast on the track. He's fantastic at freestyle, but he's one of those guys that, like you said, he's young. He can't put it together all the time. Tyler Menninga, he is a driver that has been able to put it together all the time. For Weston Anderson, his biggest thing is, let's make sure the truck's good. Let's make sure the communication with your crew chief is good. Everything that could deter him from winning that freestyle or winning racing, he needs to try to put that to the side, try to come up with the smoothest, plan of what he can do to be out there and be successful.
All right, so we have the LCQ coming up, the last chance qualifier. That will be our last event here for qualifying. Right now you're looking at the LCQ bracket. Earlier we had 2 rounds of qualifying to seed this bracket. David Olfer, Velociraptor, had the fastest time in practice, continues that as the number 1 seed here. El Toro Loco's Jamie Garner, who I think in this particular bracket, Jamie's won a lot of races in his career.
Yes.
He's known more as a high flyer from high jump freestyle, but Jamie is very capable of winning this. Chris Kohler, who we talked about, we heard from earlier, if he's got the confidence, he can put it all together. Chris Kohler could very well find himself back in the main field of World Finals. Mike Christensen is an underdog, and as we mentioned during the qualifying, Mike has had his strongest racing year. He has blown the motors, but if he can keep his truck together, Vendetta could very well go into the final round. So let's talk about round 1. Overboard, Brandon Talachka, just get her done. So you have Chad Tingler against Brandon, Tony Oaks against Joe Foley, Matt Pagliarulo, Ashley Sanford, Nick Pagliarulo, and Mark Hall. So Nick Pagliarulo, another driver who has been in World Finals as a main field competitor, has a huge following, is here with his family, just had a daughter, so he missed the first part of the season. You have to wonder with Nick, if he wouldn't have missed the first part of the season, could he already be in the main field here?
And I think he would have been in the main field. Nick is one of the best drivers that I've seen on the track. And for Nick, I thought something that was particularly going to help him was this is his daughter's first World Finals. So having his daughter in the crowd, he's definitely going to want to show out.
Speaking of showing out, Sparkle Smash is ready to show out here at Monster Jam World Finals weekend. You don't want to miss that tomorrow night. Let's take a special look at the newest truck in Monster Jam, Sparkle Smash. All right, so we are JCB Racing qualifying. We've been with you all afternoon. Adam, myself, and Leslie Mears bringing all the action here from SoFi Stadium. It is World Finals weekend. We have reached the last chance qualifier. Adam, we talked about this at the top of the show, but let's dive into it just a little bit more with your Supercross career as a privateer, an independent driver, which is what it equates to here in Monster Jam. You had to find your way in the LCQ many times. You had to fight your way out of it many times to get into the main event. And you talked about how you as a last chance qualifier, you have that 17, 18, 19, 20 spots, or 18 through 22 in the main event, however you want to put it. You end up at the back. That's not the case here. We could have an LCQ winner that ends up anywhere from, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth in qualifying. But how do you fight your way through this bracket if you're a driver? Let's say you're out there as an independent. How do you get there, man?
For me, in my privateer times before I actually became factory, it was really all about the will to win and how bad did you want it? How much could you carry it through? How much could you just push that extra envelope? These independent drivers, they are struggling out here. I know what it's like to be a privateer, and we'll see who can actually get it done.
Well, it is time for round 1 of the last chance qualifier. We told you about the bracket. We got 2 trucks out on the track, and we are going to find out who will be the final and 24th competitor in the main field at World Finals. The winner of this bracket-style tournament will compete in both the racing competition and freestyle. So 2 opportunities at World Finals championships up for grabs here for 12 superstars. 4 have automatically advanced into the second round. So realistically, those 4 drivers only have to make it through 1 round, 2 rounds, only have to make it through 3 races. That's a pretty solid advantage when you're in a tournament where the expectations are high, but the prize is so large.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter what way you look at it. This is going to be difficult. There's so many variables that could go wrong. There's so many things that could go wrong. To me, it doesn't really matter if you have a bye or you don't have a bye. This is going to be nerve-wracking.
We have Brandon Talachka, just get her done. Chad Tingler, overboard. Leslie, a lot of pressure situation down there. I'm sure drivers are feeling it. Crew chiefs probably on the edge of their seats.
They are. And when I talked to Brandon Talachka, I said, hey, what's your approach to the berm? Because he came up during the main field of qualifying, and that's what he was specifically looking at. He said, I shot in high, it didn't work. I shot low, it didn't work. He said, what I've got to do, he said, I've got to shoot in low, get those rear tires up, and kick it out of the berm if I want to be successful. And Adam, you talked about nerves. nobody is more nervous right now than Brandon's dad, Mitch Toluchka. I think he's turning a little green over there. He's so nervous.
All right, here we go. Round one, beginning the LCQ. The winner advances to face Velociraptor. Last time Chad Tingler competed in the main field of World Finals was back in 2016. It's been a while. Here we go. Just Get Her Done. Overboard. Trying to make it into round two. It is the LCQ here at SoFi Stadium. Chad Tingler looking great so far in that blue lane.
It looks like Just Get Her Done, making a few mistakes, spinning out, and there he goes again. He spins out.
If he would have made that corner, he could have had him. But Chad Tingler, Overboard, going to get the win, and Overboard advances to the second round.
Here we go with the super glued to the action replay. You can see that left BKT just gets on the top edge of that berm. He spins out, hits the gas a little bit too early, and the nerves are already coming into play.
Great job there by both competitors. So we're going to get the 19.862 for Overboard and then 29.251 for Just Get Her Done. So Chad Tingler is going to advance with that time, and he's going to move on to meet Velociraptor. All right, next up, Tony Oaks in Thunderoris, and he's going to meet Joe Foley. And this is a guy you and I have talked about, Joe Foley, but we haven't talked enough about Tony Oaks. He fought all season long on his series, trying to make it to World Finals. He would finish third on Arena Championship Series West in a hard-fought series. Matt Cody won it. Dalton Widener got the bid. Tony Oaks here with an opportunity to make his name and get into World Finals main field for the first time in his career.
Joe Foley hits a perfect step-up jump, lands on it, gets the truck turned quickly.
Nice corner there for Joe. He goes off the track, though. He ends up centering the truck. I don't know how he saved that. He looked like he was going way off into the other lane. Tony Oaks has an advantage. Tony Oaks goes off the side, and Thunderoris is going to roll. And Joe Foley looks like he is advancing into round two. What a finish to that race. Take a look at the super glue. Glued to the action replay.
Okay, you see Joe Foley, the rear steer doesn't come back as quick as he wants, but focus on Tony Oaks right here. He gets that rear tire right over the top of that barrier. He hits the throttle. Oh man, both these drivers had the will to win, but it just wasn't quite enough for Tony Oaks. He lands on the lid, and he is going home.
No, they are saying the winner is Thunderoris. They're saying he got across the finish line. 20.095 to 20.221. I don't know how Tony Oaks pulled that off, but they're saying Tony Oaks got across the finish line, ended up rolling over, saving it. So Joe Foley is going home. Thunderoris is going to advance to the next round. What a turn of events there.
Now, the real question, this is what I'm worried about for Tony Oaks right now. There is parts laying on the track. Tony Oaks, it looks like somebody's out. One of the officials is looking at the truck. They only have a minimal amount of time to get this truck back on the track. If Tony Oaks just made it through this bracket and he wants to move on, he's going to have to get that truck fixed, and Joe Foley might get a second light.
Here's the finish again. So he doesn't necessarily cross the finish line. He makes it past where the finish line is, but he ends up on that side of the racetrack right here.
Okay, so you're going to see him. He gets his two front tires on that race ramp, and then he rolls past the finish line, and they're saying that's enough.
And Joe Foley looks like he is looking at the replay, shaking his head right now. I'm not sure what happened there. We're going to look at it again. Thunderoris does not cross the finish line.
But he does cross where the finish line marks at. So now it's coming down to ruling, because watch Tony Oaks. His two front tires are on the race ramp where they're supposed to be, and that's the official ruling. If you get your two front tires on the race ramp.
It looked like from that angle he may have gotten an edge of the BKT tire onto the chalk line, kind of a Kentucky Derby style finish there. The question is, if Tony can't compete, would Joe get the nod to come back into the bracket?
Wow, that was intense.
We're going to go down to Leslie. Leslie, a crazy finish here. What were you seeing from down there?
Well, it was wild, but you have to remember, you mentioned the Kentucky Derby. This is the same kind of timing system that takes those snapshot pictures every millisecond out there to make sure that we can get the right winner. So the tape doesn't lie out there, but I did talk to Tony Oaks' crew chief, and he said that Tony was telling them that he thought that he blew the rear steer pump. Now, that's something really easy to fix out there. It's a box about this big. It's got hydraulic lines that come in and out. It's something that can happen in about 5 to 7 minutes. The problem is that when they assess the truck out there, if there are any other major things broken with a bracket that is this compact, he's going to have a hard time coming back. And I said, well, good luck out there, brother, trying to get it fixed. He goes, I'm going to need it.
All right, thank you, Leslie. So Thunderoris now on the clock. That last angle that we saw, Adam, it did look like before Thunderoris rolled, or at least during the roll, that part of that BKT tire did hit the chalk line. And I mean a minuscule part.
Yes,
but
a
it still looked
minuscule.
from that last angle, it still looked. And now we have El Toro Loco getting towed off as well. So if Tony Oaks can't come back and Joe Foley can't come back, then we would take, I believe, the fastest non-winner from round one to come back into the bracket. So a lot going on, but a wild finish. So from all those replays we had, it didn't look like it at all, but the last one did show that tire did swipe the chalk line.
Just barely. And something else that I'm looking at, too, is the intensity is already rising with these races. Something that I'm seeing is how close these two drivers are at the finish line. I mean, if I'm in this situation and I'm seeing a 12,000-pound Monster Jam truck come at me, I would have the tendency to lift, but it looked like both these drivers just stay in it, and they knew if they don't make it, they're going home.
And Leslie's right. The tape doesn't lie. We use the finish lane system, which is the same system they use in the Olympics. So, again, it took multiple angles. We did see it, a wild fit, and this is the last chance qualifier. We're live here. Anything can happen. So just the excitement building, and it just shows the pressure that these drivers are under and how much they want to win. For Tony to be able to go nearly off the racetrack, still somehow manage to get across the finish line. I don't think I've ever seen that before in my Monster Jam career. How he did that in midair, I have no idea. But Tony Oaks, if he didn't already have my respect, what you did just earned a heck of a lot more.
Well, let's put it this way. That is why these drivers are in the LCQ. These are some of the best drivers of the season, and they might have just had some, unfortunate luck, and that's why they didn't get in that main field. Tony Oaks, Joe Foley proving why they both should be here.
I mean, everybody watching at home, you're seeing the same angles that we're seeing here. So we're calling it as we see it on the racetrack. From up here in the broadcast booth, it definitely looked like a different angle, but Tony Oaks did win the race. It is confirmed, and we're going to try to see if Thunderoris can make it back. Right now, we have a great race on the track. Matt Pagliarulo Jester in the red lane, Ashley Sanford Megalodon in the blue lane. The winner advances to meet Chris Kohler, and if Matt Pagliarulo can make this happen, what a coup it would be for Team Tomfoolery to get into round two. Here we go. Low jump from Megalodon, high jump for Jester.
Ashley Sanford turns too tight, grabs that pod, but it looks like she gets it around. She's going to have to make a perfect last turn.
Matt Pagliarulo goes up. He's got to hit the brakes. Ashley Sanford has a shot here, and Megalodon's going to get the win. Ashley Sanford moving on to round two.
It looked like Ashley Sanford hesitated because Matt was going straight for her. Okay, well, let's look at the replay here. You can see Matt almost throttles it into Ashley. Ashley says, no, not this time. I'm making it through.
Leslie, I'm up here in the broadcast booth. I'm up on the edge of my seat. I'm going nuts. The finishes here are crazy. What's going on down there?
It just shows how unpredictable this track, and that you've got to just drive your own race and not watch the other competitor. And that's what Ashley Sanford told me that she was going to do out here on the track. She said she wished she had 30 more practice passes yesterday, but she really nailed the step up. And for her, because she ran her own race here, she's got another opportunity to nail that step up. And then she told me after that, it's just bit by bit. She's just going to keep chomping away at that track. And as she nails each corner, that's going to help her make rounds.
I see what you did there, Leslie, with the chomping. I like that. Very nice. I see what you're doing. We appreciate you. We'll be right back with you here as we continue on with round one of the LCQ. Two new trucks out of the tunnel onto the track. Times are in for Ashley Sanford, 21.997. She advances into round two. I talked about that matchup. It is the 2023 Co-Rookies of the Year that will meet with a lot on the line. I don't think that may be the biggest race of both of their careers coming up in round two. Speaking of big races, Mark Hall, Raminator, the longtime Monster Jam driver, up against Nick Pagliarulo in Kraken. This is two completely different generations of Monster Jam drivers going at it. The stakes are high. World Finals championships on the line.
Nick, definitely, in my opinion, the best Pagliarulo driver, and he's in the better lane. He's on the blue lane, and we will see if Nick can get it done, and there's just too much pressure on Mark Hall.
And we wait the green light here. Kraken, Raminator. Kraken in the blue lane. Raminator in the red lane. Air for both trucks. And Nick Pagliarulo has a slight advantage coming up here onto the jump.
Nice job from Nick, being very patient in that first corner, not being too excited, getting those front wheels down, and it looks like Nick's coming away with it.
What an absolute clean pass for Nick Pagliarulo. He had to because Mark was fast as well, but Kraken go to advance. Here is the super glue. Glue to the action replay.
So you can look at the top of your screen. Nick is already straight and on the throttle. Unfortunately, Mark Hall had to take that last turn just a little too slow, coming up short, and he's going home. This is make or break.
19.688 for Kraken, lightning fast time. Raminator's Mark Hall 20.257, so Kraken's going to advance. And we're not going to waste any time here going into round two, but right now the bracket up on the big board here at SoFi Stadium. As I'm looking out here in the broadcast booth, Velociraptor, Overboard, El Toro Loco, Thunderoris, Monster Mutt, Megalodon, and Vendetta against Kraken. So here we go, Velociraptor, the #1 seed in the LCQ, David Ulford, up against Chad Tingler and Overboard, who advanced with a win over Just Get Her Done. David Ulford, some of the fastest times throughout the weekend from these 12 competitors. Can it continue here in round two?
Well, I don't know if I'm allowed to do this, but David Ulford is my pick for this last chance qualifier. I think he can do it. He's been fast multiple times, and that's why I think he can continue to do this, is he hasn't just been fast once. He was fast in practice yesterday. He was fast in open practice. He was fast in LCQ practice today as the fastest qualifier. David Ulford is comfortable in his truck, and he's tuned in.
So round two going to begin. We got 4 races in this round. Then the winners will make it to the semifinals, and we'll have our final race, and then we will have our 24th competitor in the main field. The final thing we do here on our broadcast live on the Monster Jam YouTube channel will be to build our JCB Racing bracket. So please stick with us. Stay right where you are. The action continuing here with round two at SoFi Stadium. David Ulford, Chad Tingler, Velociraptor, Overboard. David Ulford had lane choice, takes the blue lane, and he is out front.
David Ulford lands the step up perfectly, enters wide, does exactly what he's supposed to do. David Ulford absolutely on fire.
Final corner for David Ulford, too tall, getting another win. He seems to be dominant right now on this racetrack, continuing to advance. David Ulford will move on. Take a look at the original Super Glue to the action replay.
David Ulford gets that truck to bounce just perfectly where he can set it into the corner, gets on the throttle early. David Ulford is tuned in, and he's putting down fast times in 18.892.
Yeah, 18.892. Great time there for David Ulford. That definitely beat his practice times in qualifying as well. So David continuing to get faster. That spells trouble for the rest of the bracket. And here we go. We are going to push that next matchup back. So we talked about Thunderoris. They're going to give Tony Oaks a little more time to get the truck back on the track. That means we move on to this exciting matchup between the rookies of the year, Chris Kohler in Monster Mutt, Ashley Sanford in Megalodon. I would think just based on, racing skills in stadiums, Chris would have to be the favorite. But, man, Ashley pulls this upset off. She's going to enter the conversation here for the LCQ.
Chris Kohler a little long, Ashley Sanford a little short, but Chris gets a fantastic first turn.
Ashley goes a little tight. She's going to go up all the way over on the other side lane, so Chris Kohler has to finish strong here, and it looks like he will. Ashley Sanford making the best of it, making the most of it. Chris goes outside, a little far off to the left. He's going to cross the finish line. Monster Mutt with a great run. Ashley Sanford gave it everything she had and made it a great race there with Chris.
Yeah, and for Ashley Sanford, it's still okay. She got a little off track, but you could tell the pressure got to her. She's in a learning situation. She's at World Finals. She made it to the LCQ. This is fantastic. She can come back next year, hopefully do a little better, but she's now used to the pressure.
We got two more trucks coming out, Kraken and Vendetta. So Nick Pagliarulo, fresh off his round one win over Mark Hall. Doesn't get any easier here. Mike Christensen is taking the blue lane as well, and he will try to join his Team Throttle Monster teammate David Olford in the semifinal round.
Kraken very smooth and fast on his last pass, but we've talked about it multiple times. I said the motor did not matter for Mike Christensen, but it is playing a role. Mike Christensen getting a bye in that first round. Mike Christensen with that little bit of extra motor, as long as that thing doesn't blow up or go bad, Mike Christensen has a great opportunity to make the main field.
Mike, 2023 Breakout Driver of the Year. Nick, former Monster Jam Rookie of the Year. Leslie, this is a great matchup here in the second round.
Yeah, and Mike Christensen, as you mentioned about the motor, has some concerns out there. It was running hot in that last round, and so by the time he got to the top, it was just spewing antifreeze everywhere. So they loaded it back up, they brought it back down, and so they loaded it back up again. So he's worried about that motor running a little hot, but he's still going to try to run his own race.
He's got a great one going right now. He's got an advantage into the final corner. Mike Christensen, nice turn there. Nick Pagliarulo has to stop. He goes up over the berm into the blue lane, and Mike Christensen, motor holds up. Vendetta going to move on. Take out the original super glue, glued to the action replay.
I think I see a little bit of antifreeze leaking out of Mike Christensen's truck, but watch Kraken right here. You can see him lock that truck up. He tries to get the truck steered. He knows it's too late. He gave it up. He gave up. He threw in the towel, and that will be it for Nick Pagliarulo and Kraken.
So we have one semifinal matchup set. Monster Mutt will meet Vendetta, 19.843 for Vendetta. David Olford still has the fastest time. So now we have Jamie Gardner out there onto the track. And as I'm looking at the tunnel, it looks like Raminator is in the tunnel. So that means that Thunder Roar is unable to come back. El Toro Loco Nitro Neon unable to come back. And Mark Hall may get a second crack here. And in fact, he will. So Jamie Gardner will take the blue lane. Mark Hall back into the bracket. Now in the second round, we'll have another opportunity to advance and continue on in the last chance qualifier. Always got to be ready here at Monster Jam.
Yeah, and for Mark Hall, this is a second chance and a big second chance. Yesterday, we saw a completely different driver, and I think what's happening is Mark Hall is just second-guessing himself. He's trying to overdrive the truck. He's thinking too much on this track. He needs to stop thinking. He needs to drive his truck, do what he does best if he wants to move on in this LCQ bracket.
So do you think having that additional pass in that lane, does that give him an advantage here, or is Jamie still from the first round bye have the advantage as the driver that gets lane choice?
You know, unfortunately for Mark Hall, I think these lanes are a little bit at a disadvantage. Mark Hall does have that pass in the red lane already, but Jamie Gardner, without a doubt, has the advantage with lane choice, and I think that blue lane being that much faster, hard to beat.
See that surface down there at the starting line, the blue groove surface we talked about where the race lanes are. What is that like to start off of here on these BKT tires?
It depends on how on top of it you are. It could be a little bit greasy, but if you hit that blue groove just perfect, it could actually have some grip.
Here we go, into the berm goes Jamie Gardner up on two wheels, able to keep control of the truck. I don't know how. Advantage.
Mark Hall, he can do it in this last corner if he stays smooth.
And he can. It's going to be close to the finish, but El Toro Loco gets it done. Jamie Gardner able to save it. It looked like Jamie Gardner could have absolutely collapsed there coming out of that berm. Kept it up, and we're going to take a look at the original super glue to the action replay.
Okay, you can see Jamie Gardner in this last turn. Mark Hall just taking it too gingerly in that last corner, too slow. And then here at the top of your screen, look at those two inside BKTs hook up. The ruts are developing. These drivers need to watch out. The crew chiefs need to communicate. We're going to have some carnage here coming up quick.
20.848 is the time for Jamie Gardner. He will advance to meet Velociraptor. The semifinal bracket is set here for the last chance qualifier. Velociraptor, El Toro Loco, Monster Mutt, Vendetta. Incredible independent teams here represented. You have Team Scream, you have Overboard Motorsports, and you have Team Throttle Monster. One of these drivers will get that last chance qualifier before we get into the semifinals. Let's check back in with Leslie.
Guys, I'm down here with Wendy Christensen, and you're the one that told me that the truck was running hot. What was the word from Mike on radio there after that awesome pass from him? Hold on. Sorry about that little technical difficulty here. Wendy, talk to us about what Mike was telling you about the truck.
He's running really hot. His temp's up to 260, so we got some guys down in the dock right now, and they're pouring water on the radiator, trying to get him cooled down. We have the fans running. He's plugged in, so we're just trying to get the temp down so he can come back out for this next round.
And to take some of the nerves away from you, because I know that,
I'm so nervous.
But you guys have 2 of your trucks in the semifinals.
Yes.
How gratifying is that to see all your hard work this season on the Stadium Series pay off here and give your team an opportunity for that LCQ?
We're so excited. I mean, it's our first time here for the LCQ. We have one of our guys in the main event, so I mean, it's overwhelming. I mean, and then for them to go on to semifinals, the nerves are building, my stomach is in knots. But yes, we're super proud, we're super happy, we're excited.
Well, I'll let you get back to being more nervous.
All right, thank you, Leslie. So Wendy right now trying to divide the line between a concerned wife and also a concerned crew chief. How much more does that motor have in Vendetta?
Only time will tell, Scott, but what I am seeing is a little bit of controversy going on. Monster Mutt and Chris are changing lanes right now. I'm not sure what happened. I'm sure we can get a report from Leslie on that here pretty quickly, but that is going to be a factor in confidence. Mike Christensen said, no, Chris, I want that blue lane. That is mine.
We will see here. The semifinal is about to begin. It is Monster Mutt versus Vendetta here in our first matchup, followed by Velociraptor El Toro Loco. We could have an all-team throttle monster final here in the last chance qualifier. We will see if Chris Kohler has anything to say about that. But one of these drivers literally will not have much time to celebrate, because then it's all about going back to the pits, getting your truck ready for 2 more competitions tomorrow. The stakes are high right now, but even higher when it comes to winning World Finals Championship tomorrow night.
Yeah, and it's going to be such a bummer for the rest of these drivers. I can't tell you how upset I was when I went to the LCQ. I knew I had it in the bag. I was one of the fastest riders multiple times, but I just didn't get it done. But one driver tonight is going to get the glory.
So Chris Kohler did have a faster time than Mike last round. He got a penalty, so that's why Mike does get lane choice. And Mike takes a blue lane, looking good right now. Chris Kohler comes off onto the inside part of that berm.
Chris sets up wide. This could be it. Chris Kohler gets on the throttle.
He goes too far. I don't know who won that one. We're going to take a look at the replay. Chris looked like he had it in the bag. He went too far off to the side. And we are going to see if Mike was able to catch up here at the finish. Here's the original Super Glue to the action replay.
Watch Chris's rear steer. You can see it. It just hangs on a little too long. He got excited. He did not. He did not let go of that rear steer. I'm wondering if he gets penalized for not having 2 front tires on that race ramp. Did he get it within the white lines? Only the referees know.
He got penalized. Mike Christensen moving on to the final round. Wow. We see some celebration going on down there, man. What a race that was, but Chris gets penalized. Tough break for Chris Kohler, and his World Finals chances are gone.
And this is what we are talking about with this track. It is such a fine line. Chris Kohler left his rear steer triggered for maybe 1 second, a half a second too long. He thought he had it. He was excited. He sees the finish line, and that rear steer doesn't come back. The 2 front tires don't hit the race ramp, and Chris Kohler is going home.
That leads us to our final semifinal race. Jamie Garner, El Toro Loco in the red lane. David Ofer, Velociraptor, has lane choice with the fastest time, not surprisingly, taking the blue lane. So we will either have El Toro Loco Vendetta or Velociraptor Vendetta, and we are down to the final 3 competitors in the last chance qualifier. 1 spot in the finals remain. And we got to start there. We're going to have to send them back here. A little bit of an issue there at the starting line. El Toro Loco started and then stopped. Velociraptor backing off. So we're going to reset our lighting tree. If you have not been to a Monster Jam event live, you haven't seen us on television, and you're watching for the first time, our drivers are staring across the track at a lighting system. They have an outside amber, which when that goes on, that means they can fire up their Monster Jam trucks. They can pull to the starting line. When the inside amber goes up, that means they are set at the starting line, and then the red light will turn green, and we will begin the race. So it was a deep stage there. They send them back, and we restarted. Here we go. Velociraptor, El Toro Loco.
Jamie Garner goes huge on the step up.
That is going to cost him this race. Too high, too much on the bounce. David Ofer with a big lead, but he goes wide as well. He has to check up on the brakes. Jamie Garner hits the turning pod, ends up on top of the berm, and David Ofer advances to the finals. No surprise, man. They start to finish. David Olford, too tall, having fast times. Here's the original Super Glue to the action replay.
And I've talked about this multiple times. He makes a mistake off the step up, turns one mistake into two. He knows he has to drive that truck in so deep if he wants to beat David Olford. Drives it in a little bit too hard, catches that kind of edge right at the bottom of the berm, and you see that BKT hook up, grab that edge, and he gets put on the lid.
So 19.060 for Velociraptor, and we are going to check back in with Leslie Mears with Cody Saucier.
So, Cody, for you get to have those watchful eyes up here. You know you're going to get a bye with that 7 spot up here. What are some of the things that you're seeing up here as you're watching these LCQ drivers go through the races?
I'm seeing a lot of guys make some silly mistakes, man. These guys got to focus on running their own race, especially at the very end, the final turn. The inside turn to berm, a lot of guys are screwing up and kind of pushing to the outside, and the outside lane is seeing that, so it kind of gets in your head a little bit. And also the step up, the face of the takeoff ramp is laying down a little bit, so it seems like every round you got to approach it a little bit differently. The left lane is laid down more than the right also, so Jamie Garner just launched it for no good reason, but it's just you got to keep your cool. An all-throttle monster final is going to be awesome. Two of my great friends in the final round, make a great power, good motor program they got, and I'm anxious to see how the outcome turns out. I have a favorite, I won't say who, but may the best guy out there win this one.
Yeah, and I want to come back to what we talked about earlier, because we talked about how you don't necessarily have to push it as hard as everyone thinks out here on this track, especially in those wide sweeping turns. And we've really seen David nail that out here.
Absolutely. Like Gary Porter used to be called, Mr. Consistency. That's what I was referred to in its humbling, and I'm referring to him as that today. He is hitting the marks perfect. Too tall, man. Love you, brother. Go get him.
Thank you, Leslie. Let's take a look at the bracket here. Velociraptor does have the fastest time in the last round, so David Olford will get lane choice over Vendetta. It is an all-team throttle monster finale. It is coming up. Our 24th spot in World Finals main field is up for grabs next with the LCQ Finals. Welcome back to Monster Jam World Finals 23. This is the LCQ Finals from SoFi Stadium. David Olford, Velociraptor, and Mike Christensen, Vendetta, Team Throttle Monster teammates. David gets lane choice, takes the blue lane. I think one thing that today has proven is that this track will actually tomorrow be the 25th competitor in World Finals, because it has been absolutely terrorizing these drivers.
Yes, you can tell that this is a challenging, and I mean very challenging track. It is so technical. Tom Mentz, Leslie mentioned at the top of the show that Tom Mentz said that there's 5 or 6 marks that you have to hit to make this track perfect, and they have to be precise. One of them is off the start. How late are you off the start? Then you got to hit perfect on the step-up landing, the first turn, the last turn, then the finish line. So many obstacles to get past for these drivers.
Tail of the tape, David Olford 12-20 on the year, 1 racing win. Mike Christensen 20-21, 1 racing win. 1 spot in the main field of World Finals remains the winner. Advances to the racing and freestyle competition. And here we go. It's the last chance qualifier, and it's right now at SoFi Stadium. David Olford in the lane, the blue lane, has an advantage right now over Mike Christensen going slow on the red lane. This is all Velociraptor.
Mike Christensen comes short on the step up, and then he gets up on 2 BKTs.
And David Olford is going to Monster Jam World Finals main field. Looking across here from the broadcast booth, I see a lot of drivers, a lot of crew chiefs jumping up and down for David Olford. No disrespect to Mike Christensen, who is loved by many, but Too Tall has worked his butt off year after year after year, from technician to driver to World Finals competitor.
You are looking at a rising star in Monster Jam. He was in one of the most high-pressure situations that we've ever seen, and David Olford comes up on top. Mike Christensen down there. He gets out of his truck, cheering him on. David Olford, the emotion that is going on. These drivers are so excited. It's showing you how big World Finals 23 means and everything it is to all these drivers and competitors.
This is an absolute dream come true for David Olford, who has literally just fought his way for respect to get it. He's earned it today, and now David Olford will compete for the best trophy in the business, a World Finals championship.
David Olfert getting hugs from just about everybody, getting his helmet off. Wow, what an amazing moment. I know what this feels like. You got so many emotions going through your mind, and one of the toughest things is going to be getting ready for tomorrow, Scott.
Yeah, it's not done yet. He can celebrate right now, but man, oh man, they got some work to do. They got to keep the truck in shape, and he's got to get ready. Let's go down to the track for Leslie.
I'm shaking. I know you are shaking so bad, David. It was awesome. So you were so smooth. You were so fast in practice. How were you able to maintain that calm and that consistency? Hey, Cody Saucier said you're like Gary Porter, Mr. Consistency up there. How were you able to maintain it?
I don't know. I'm just a kid out here living a dream. I told myself just drive. You know, I overthought it so many times this year in racing, and I just came out here and I knew I could put up the numbers and be fast. Maybe not be the fastest, but this track was about being consistent, and that's what it took. So I just told myself, calm down, drive. And like I always say, I just got in and turned my brain off.
Yeah, and that blue lane was money out there for you. You had the number on it.
Absolutely, you know. Lane choice played a big factor as long as you got the good time. But it doesn't matter, man. We're going to World Finals. All you people at home watching on YouTube Live, Mom, Dad, I love you. Thank you for always staying behind me. This guy, Tim, helping me keep calm. All these other drivers up in the seats, you know, I've been working with them for so many years, turning wrenches and everything else. I'm running with you boys tomorrow. It's been a long time coming. Let's go!
A well-earned victory for David Olfert, and he may be David Olfert, he may be too tall, but today he is Cinderella. Cinderella is in the building. This is what Hollywood movies are made of. This is what dreams are made of, and that story for David Olfert started today, and it ends tomorrow, and it could end with a World Finals championship.
And what is so cool about this moment and World Finals in this LCQ is now David Olfert went from not being in the field. Now he has a chance to make that Cinderella story. You have to start somewhere if you're going to write a script, and David Olfert's script starts here winning that LCQ.
Everybody loves an underdog story, man. It's the ultimate tale in sports, the underdog, as we watch Mike Christensen, the first one to greet David Olfert. So Mike is co-owner of Team Throttle Monster. Mike had an opportunity to get into the main field. David got the best of him, and now the team owner, friend, teammate is there to celebrate. I saw Too Tall down there with Barry Musauer, who used to crew for, and now we can take a look at our JCB racing bracket. So in round one, it'll be Great Clips Mohawk Warrior against JCB Digatron. What a matchup for Tristan England to begin defense of his title against Bryce Kenny. You got Dragon against Soldier Fortune, Velociraptor, Lucas Stabilizer. So that is where David Olfert gets seated into the bracket. He will meet Lindsey Reed. Megalodon, Fire, Corey Rumble, Monster Mutt, Dalmatian, Jurassic Attack, Black Pearl, Wildside Avenger, El Toro Loco, Scooby-Doo, Thunder Roarus, and Gravedigger. And there's your first round buys. Gravedigger, Max D, Son of a Digger, Gravedigger, Weston Anderson, Megalodon, Todd the Duke, Gravedigger, Adam Anderson, Bakugan, Dragonoid, and Zombie. This bracket is insane. I like the first round buys. I like the matchups in round two. I'm going to put you to the test, Adam. Who's your prediction, looking at this bracket, to be crowned racing champion?
I mean, that's a hard prediction to make. I really want to go with Son of a Digger's Ryan Anderson for tomorrow. It's so hard when you're the fastest qualifier to win this with the odds. But somebody else I'm looking at, David Olfert, the dream story. If he gets past Lindsey Reed, he's going to have to get past Ryan Anderson. It's going to be a tough night, but what a magical moment that would be.
Well, we got you covered right here on YouTube. Live streaming of the pit party begins tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern, and coverage the two-wheeled and high jump at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. Racing and freestyle begins 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Of course, the award ceremony on Sunday, but we have 4 competitions tomorrow. It's the biggest event of the year on the biggest stage of the year on one of the biggest cities in the world. This is as big as it gets. It's Monster Jam World Finals. You are invited to come along for the ride right here on YouTube for the first time ever. You can live stream World Finals. It's a Hollywood dream for 4 of these drivers. It could come true tomorrow. We'll see you tomorrow night. Monster Jam World Finals at SoFi.